What if Ayanokoji was reincarnated as a slime alongside Rimuru? A few weeks have passed since the uninhabited island ended. The plan worked as I predicted. So far, no one seems to be suspecting me nor Horikita's action as well, which is a good thing. And one thing that makes me glad is that Horikita didn't question my intention unlike last time. She simply asked me what I did, in which I complied, but I let her promise me not to tell it to anyone else first. I also found myself a useful tool from the latest exam that just happened yesterday, which is the existence known as Karuizawa K. I don't know how or when to use her to my future plans, but I'm expecting great things from her. Though I'm not setting my expectations too high, since it'll come back to bite me if I do. Karuizawa seems to hate me ever since the incident where me and Yukimura stepped in to help her from Manaba's group. And it actually increases after I set up the trap and man. Abe harassed her on the lower deck of the ship. Completely unknown from the others. I freed her from the shackles of her past, making her a new person. However, I'm not sure when will the past come back to haunt her again. And if that time comes, just as I promised her, I'll protect her no matter what. But if she didn't meet my expectations and do the things that I order properly, then It's already 1 o'clock in the morning. I stayed up till late in my room as I watched the TV. The show got me hooked up, but I decided to sleep now. But before doing so, I quickly left the room to get some fresh air. Cold sensation of the wind quickly passed through my body. It's soothing. Back in the past, the only wind that I feel is the freshened air of the aircon. Nothing more than that. That white, sterile room will come back to haunt me again. Sooner or later. However, I still have 2 more years to enjoy here in this school. I'll think about it when the time comes. There's no point worrying about it for now. I'll be sure to protect this freedom in my grasp right now. I won't allow Chabashira-sensei to steal that away from me, even if it means sacrificing someone or my freedom itself. At least let me be greedy for this freedom. Notice. Acquiring unique skill. Greed King complete. Closing square bracket. But, I wonder what I will do after that. Sure, I'll go back to that place after 3 years, but I don't feel like doing so that easily. Maybe I'll go to some mountains in isolated places, so that maybe, just maybe, my father won't reach me. Becoming a monk like those in the movies, meditating on the tip of a mountain without any foothold. Giving advices to the people like any other ones, balding my hair like Katsuragi. Maybe I'll be a sage then if I did my job great, or maybe a great sage at that. Notice. Acquiring unique skill. Great sage complete. Closing square bracket. But really though, I would like to be in a world without any restrictions, without my father, without rules. Or if not, then maybe in a form where my father won't know that it's me. I really like that idea. Nope, I'm just messing with myself. It's not like it'll happen anyway. Notice. Transmigration of soul in a non-humanoid form successful. Closing square bracket. What's that? A strange voice suddenly talked in my mind. Am I hallucinating? If so, then how and why? I should just probably sleep. Then, as I opened the door of my room in attempt to sleep, my vision became hazy. My body, strangely, became so weak that I don't even have the energy and strength to stand up. Such a thing couldn't possibly happen to me, as I cultivated my body for years and years to withstand such sickness. In fact, I don't even know if what's happening to me is a disease. Maybe I'm too tired. No, as my stamina is much larger than anyone else. The possibility of someone drugging me is also low, as I've never left my room for the whole day. Well, not until this moment, but that's none of my concern right now. Strange. This is really strange. In the end, I decided to just sleep and enter a long slumber. With my cold body on the floor. As soon as I opened my eyes. No, scratch that, I don't even have an eye to open. I cannot see a thing, but rather, my mind is in a bluish-like place filled with nothing. I thought that my senses got lost, however, I cannot imagine that happening in a million years. Then, I can sense a spiky-like thing below my feet. No, scratch that idea too. I don't have a feet to help me stand. First, I don't have an eye for vision to use. I cannot open it, and I can't feel it in my face. Then, strangely, I cannot feel my feet below. But, also strangely, I think I'm standing on a grass field area. Alright, let's calm down and further analyze the situation. Yesterday, or maybe earlier, my vision got so hazy and my body goes so weak to the point of me falling down on the floor, resulting in me sleeping in the cold but smooth floor. If I remember correctly, I left the door open, didn't I? Then maybe, someone cut my legs and feet then throwed me out in a field. I cannot imagine such humiliation and stupidity happening, but no logics can explain the situation I am in. And, by the way, I forgot to mention this, but I feel like I've grown small. I can feel my body bouncing as well. Alright, Kiyotaka, let's analyze the situation again. But this time, let's abandon all the knowledge and logic that you cultivated from this past years of your life. My mind is filled with nothing but color blue. I cannot feel and don't have a feet, however, I can feel a spiky-like thing below me, which is a grass. I became small as well, which is a phenomenon that science cannot even explain. Small, blue, still have senses, and the sanity to think. Maybe I am in another world. I only heard the term isekai, or tensai, from the professor. However, I did not believe it since no one even explained the logic behind that idea. Well, he said that this only happens on anime and such, which made me grow more suspicious of it. But, the suspicious they on that amounts to nothing compared to the situation I am in. Let's see, the professor explained a lot of nonsense things to me, but I decided to remember it either way. Now, think, what's a blue, mall-like creature who can bounce around? A slime. If I remember correctly, slimes are like the weakest monster or enemy in a fantasy game. They're small, multicolored creatures who can bounce around and has a variety of types. Poison slime, healing slime, cleaning slime and such. My knowledge about this kind of thing is below average, but I made sure to remember it just in case. Anyway, since I'm in another world, my father couldn't possibly find me here, would he? If he did, then I don't even know what to say and do anymore. Alright, time to stop thinking hypothetically with no valid evidence and let's put the pieces together. I still have a lot of questions in my mind right now. Who would send me in such place? If I'm not mistaken, I'm in a cave, specifically in a grassland. Since I can hear bats and a lot creatures near me. No, I can't hear them, but I can sense them. I wonder how. Answer. The entity Ayanokoji Kiyotaka can sense the magical near the user with the help of the skill, Magic Sense. Closing square bracket. What? For some reason, a robotic, female voice answered my question. It kinda shocked me, to be perfectly blunt, as I didn't expect someone's to be here as well. But, she said that I can feel the magical in my surroundings, then, how come I didn't sense her? Maybe, she's on my mind. If that's so, then, what's a skill? Let's see if she'll continue answering my question. Answer. A skill is an ability that, on rare occasions, can be acquired in recognition of some form of personal growth. Closing square bracket. Looks like my hunch is correct, so it seems. She's inside my head, but I cannot see nor sense her. Is she some kind of guidebook inside my mind? Maybe to help me get used to this world. Can you explain what's a magical? Answer. Magicals, magical energy. Oh. Our magic essence is another type of energy, or a special type of energetic material, apart from the regular physical energy. Magicals are usually associated with monsters, creatures who are innately based on magicals and whose bodies tend to be more based on magicals than physical matter the higher their rank is. Closing square bracket. Or so in short, this is like magic powers, or mana, or some sort that is used by monsters here in this world. They are used to cast skill, talk, or and also intimidate others by leaking it. The higher your magical is, the more powerful you are. Which means that this world is in a hierarchical system as well. This world is no different compared to my school. So, in the end, I'll be forced to use my skill as well. Since, if I didn't, I'll surely die. As this world is no ordinary compared to the last. Here, it's eat or be eaten. And I do not want to die without putting up a fight as well. The girl's voice, who's apparently called as Great Sage, also answered a useless question of mine. Since I also have a magical, means that I'm a monster. And to specific, I'm a slime. Just like my theory earlier, looks like I guessed it correctly. She said that beings like me who came from another world are called otherworlders. Otherworlders tends to have a skill that's far stronger than your common skill called unique skill. Unique skill are, just by name suggests, are skills that's unique can only exist one at a time. They're the next stage of the skill called extra skill. She also explained that unique skills are also called shape of the mind, which means the user wished for such skill before bestowing it upon them. Extra skill, on the other hand, refers to skills with power and efficiency magnitudes higher than those of common skills. Thus, Ilrea, I have an extra skill called Magic Sense. I yet to know the ability I have acquired by getting through this world. Let alone having the knowledge to cast one, I'm not certain about the capacity I have. Which makes me weaker than most of the monsters here, who's solely relying on their instincts. I better get used to casting skills if I have one, or else I'll kick the bucket much earlier. However, one thing is bugging me. Great Sage said that unique skills are shape of the mind. And Great Sage here is a unique skill of mine. However, she stated that there's also another creature who has the same unique skill as mine. This contradicted the whole meaning of the word unique, as it should only be existed once. But that's not my problem. Did I really wish for such a skill in my last world? Sage. For what? I don't know. And for sure, I wouldn't get an answer either way. But what should I do now, I wonder? The shackles of my past who's always there to haunt me, is nowhere to be seen. My restricted freedom is no more, as it's already in the palm of my hand. I cannot afford to hold back in this world as well, which means I should go all out as long as it's within my abilities. However, I don't have the human form I used to have, which means I would be living as a slime in for rest of my life. Anyway, Great Sage here stated that the other creature who has the same unique skill as mine, is also in this very cave. Its existence, coincidentally, is a slime as well. And for the third time, coincidentally, that slime is also a former human and an otherworlder like me. For now, I need to move ahead and meet this said person slime, to acquire more information, and maybe seek his companion or help. Either way, since this world is running on a hierarchical system, I'll enjoy my time crushing who's on the top of whatever system they have. Kiyotaka Pav. It's nearly been a week ever since I got transported, reincarnated, or whatever happened in this world. I got the hang of how to walk, or maybe crawl. In this slime body, it's fairly easy, to be honest. I've acquired, well, some skills along the way. I didn't mention this earlier, but Great Sage stated I also have another unique skill named Greed King. Greed King is a unique skill in which, whatever the user touch or kill by its own will vanish into thin air and I'll be able to acquire its skill, magical capacity and such. However, I cannot copy its appearance. It also takes a lot of toll in my magical capacity, so I cannot really use this ability unless the enemy is extremely powerful and the ability that I will get is worth it. The higher the strength and magical capacity of the creature that I touch or kill, the higher the toll that I get from my own. So, there's no problem if I touch someone or something, unless I want it. They won't die. But, however, I cannot stop the fact of getting their skill, excluding the magical capacity. Great Sage also explained to me the traits of being a slime. Well, it has a lot of useful skills that will come handy in the future. I have the ability to absorb, dissolve, and self-regenerate. Which means that it also has the same trait as my Greed King. Well, not really. Which means that I can absorb things, dissolve it, analyze it and store it in the never-ending capacity of my stomach. Self-regenerate, self-regeneration is a rather useful skill. But Great Sage said that it's not fast and strong enough to withstand powerful skills cast on me. So, if I've been targeted by a one-hit delete skill, then my self-regeneration wouldn't be able to help me. Well, it's better than nothing, I guess. And I only noticed this earlier, but somehow, all the things in my path is getting turned rotten, for some reason. Hey, Great Sage, mind telling me why the road is getting rotten. Report, the user Ayanokoji Kiyotaka is currently activating the unique skill, Greed King, and as such, non-living things will go rotten if touched. Closing square bracket. Now this is a pain. I don't know how to deactivate this troublesome unique skill of mine. Remember, unique skills are shape of the mind, and such, can only be activated and deactivated through imaginations. However, it can be changed manually. Great Sage explained before stopping. Would you like to deactivate the unique skill, Greed King? Closing square bracket. Let's see. If I activate and vice versa manually, I wouldn't be able to learn it through my imagination. However, it's getting troublesome to see things that I came contact to go rotten. Yes, I shortly answered. Then, after saying that, I tried moving my slimy body forward. No. It's more like I crawled forward. Thankfully, the sloppy rock didn't turn rotten. I continued moving ahead with the intention of meeting this former human, which is now a slime. I wonder if she has the same personality as Horikita. If that's the case, I'll immediately cut ties with him, her, no questions asked. I can't stand another cold and manipulative personality aside from me. And if it's like Hirata, then I guess it's fine. I don't really mind being buddy-buddy, so long no one enters my personal space. As I'm deep in my thoughts, I felt a huge and powerful presence in front of me. Like a robot, I immediately go fighting mode, as I use the skill, coercion, to intimidate that said creature. Great Sage explained that coercion's effect depends on the target's strength. If they're weak, they will lose consciousness. If only a level below me, they will feel scared. And if in my level or above me, they can resist it. However, to no prevail, it didn't even budge nor run away. It just continued moving ahead as I soon saw what it is. A slime. Question mark question mark question mark. Pav. I got the hang of what to do and the skills I have acquired, thankfully, I can cast it. Great Sage here is a helpful one. Isn't she? Having no goal in my mind, I continued moving deep within the cave, eating grass, stones, crystals and a lot more that I see along the way. Haha, just kidding. I can't see now since I don't have any eyes. But rather, I can feel magicals floating in the air, from nearby creatures around me. I thought this day would be like any other day, nothing out of ordinary happening. But looks like I'm mistaken. Upon crossing a river, or rather, a pond, I stopped moving for a second and hid myself in a nearby rock. Is that only me, or do I feel rather? I felt a rather cold glare, but I can somewhat resist it. I sense a powerful presence approaching my location, as if a prey hiding from its predator, praying that its life won't be taken. Leaning my whole body on the rock, I concentrated my magicals and tried to scare this said creature away. But it didn't stop. Wait, what creature is that anyway? I concentrated, but this time, with the goal of knowing what kind of monster it is. Or maybe it's human. Anyway, with that in mind, I continued. Let's see. Upon activating the skill, Magic Sense, the only creatures I can see near me are bats, spiders, and such common enemies. But wait, no way. Is that a slime? Kiyotaka Pav. I approached the said location of where the slime is. Normally, it tend to be scared and would immediately run away upon sensing a monster far stronger than it. It's in the instincts of the monsters. The weak will follow the strong. The weak will bow before the strong. And if they didn't, they will run away. However, this slime didn't budge. Let alone scared. It just hid there while trying to sense who I am. It even tried to use the same tactic to scare me away, but that just confirmed my suspicions. Such an intelligent creature. Just what I expected from a former human. Great Sage, is there a skill available to use to communicate to this slime? Answer. The skill, Magic Sense, also grants the ability to understand and express the intent of spoken words even if the language of the conversation partner is unknown. Closing square bracket. I see, I didn't know that there's another ability other than sensing magicals around me. Upon arriving behind the rock of where the slime in question is, I stayed there silent. But around a minute has passed, trying to sense if it's still there, or if it has a malicious intent. It started talking. I'm not a bad slime. It said. I know, I replied. Upon hearing my simple but understandable reply, the slime showed up from its hiding location. I did the same as well. It has the same color and physical trait as me. My guts is telling me that he's on my level, or maybe if skills are included, a level above me. But anyway, now that I met the person slime that I plan to find, things will be easier than before. Why? Because I found a very powerful tool ally to rely upon. Continuing the meeting with the former human who's known as Satoru Mikami, got reincarnated herein. This world after being stabbed to death. Must be hard, I said under my breath, but enough for him to hear. Not really, I just acquired some unique skills and such after arriving here. He explained to me that he also have the unique skill, Great Sage, like mine. He also knew about my existence, as he's Great Sage explained about me to him. Maybe being transported in this world, acquiring the same skill and meeting him here is all planned by Great Sage. I doubt it, but that's not entirely impossible. However, one thing that makes me curious is his unique skill, Predator. It has the same trait as my Greed King, but a superior one on every aspects. It has the ability to predate, analyze, copy and store just like mine. Predate, just the name suggests, means eat. Everything that he predate will be stored in his stomach, like every slime can do. However, unlike mine, he can copy its appearance and race. It's good for hiding oneself if the enemy isn't intelligent. How should I address you? Satoru-san, or Mikami-san, I asked. It's normal to add honorifics to much older people than you. Such as him being a 37-year-old former human. Why not just Mikami then? It's not like it's necessary to add honorifics in this world. Besides, I got reincarnated, which means that I'm only 1 week old. The same as you, so don't worry much. I see. Then you can call me Kiyotaka as well. He nodded in response. I'll be bothered by the fact of calling someone by their first name without them doing the same. Well, as for the honorifics, I'm not used to adding one on other people, but I can still do it if needed. Just like Chabashira-sensei. Well, she's another case, but you get my point. Like what he did, I also told him some things about me. But I didn't included any stories about my past, nor my school. Nevertheless, since I told him that I'm just 16, he's not so dumb as to not guess that I'm just a high schooler. Anyway, regarding his personality, for the past few hours that we've been bouncing around, going towards nothing, I can say that he's a good person. No, that's not about his personality. He seems to be a cunning person who can think of a strategy for every pinch that he's in. However, he's not manipulative and cold like Horikita and me, which isn't exactly a bad thing. Having a good person by my side is just an extra, as I can use him for negotiations and such if it ever comes to that. No, Kiyotaka, you shouldn't think like that anymore. I can't call other people nor creatures in this world as tools anymore. Why? Because if they ever found that I betrayed them, they will seek revenge. And if they do, that'll be troublesome, especially if I knew that they have great potential who can far surpass me. I like to avoid that if possible. Gaining allies is a much more correct term, as I've been planning to sit at the top of the throne anyway. Example, Mikami here. If I ever abandoned him and betrayed him, then I'm sure he'll just shrug it off and forget about it. But I know that if necessary, then he'll be sure to get rid of me, just like I did to him. His unique skill is a troublesome one, so I shouldn't regard to him as a tool but rather, an ally or maybe a friend or companion. If only I have broad network for information, then I guess I can exploit them if they ever did. Anyways, I must refrain myself from being manipulative and harsh, but I must maintain my cold personality if necessary. And if they ever did betray me, then that's another thing. So, Kiyotaka, was it? He seems to be troubled remembering my name, but I guess he'll get used to it sooner or later. Yes, since you didn't really explain how you got here, would you mind telling me how? He got curious. Well, I won't lose something if I ever said it or not either way. It's a boring story and an unbelievable one. Is that fine? I asked to confirm. It really is a boring way to get in this world, to be perfectly blunt. I thought someone already did kill me or drugged me to death. Because, if I ever lose to someone, then it's also the loss for the old man. I'm sure I'll enjoy the expression on his face if it ever happened. His masterpieces fall. Such a blissful day. It's fine. This whole situation is already unbelievable anyway. He said with a slight chuckle. I guess so. I then explained my whole situation to him. As to how I got here, some of my skills and such. Since there's no point in hiding the existence of Great Sage, I also happened to add it on my explanation. But instead of being surprised, looks like he already knew about it. Maybe is Great Sage already informed him about me? Or is he just testing me if I'll lie to him? That's none of my concern either way, so I didn't bother to think about it. Adding some lies here and there, I finished explaining the details as he only replied with a sigh. You can really say that this is indeed troublesome. Agreed. Looks like our thoughts somewhat collided, as he let out another exasperated sigh. We continued moving ahead deep within the cave, eating this grass as we can see everywhere, apparently called hippoc grass by Great Sage. Due to a high magicule leaking from the cave, T.S. results to increased presence of magic ore in hippoc grass. As Mikami and I eat things we concluded being helpful, we ended up in a large lake filled with ores and such. Should we cross this? I asked. There seems to be some kind of light in the other part of the lake. Then I'll take that as a yes. We head towards the water as I easily descended on the bottom part of the lake. Now, what to do? First of all, looks like I don't need to worry about staying here for too long, as I don't seem to be having trouble with breathing. Received. A slime's body operates exclusively on magicules. Oxygen is unnecessary, and therefore, so is breathing. That is why you have not been engaging in that behavior. Closing square bracket. So looks like I won't suffocate to death. But staying here for too long will be a problem. Oh, Just then, I got an idea. Since we slimes have the traits to absorb, I started absorbing a lot of water before storing it in my stomach, around 10% of the capacity. Then, I expelled it like I was wringing out my stomach. The sense of release was exhilarating. Suddenly, I heard a voice in my mind. Water pressure propulsion skill acquired. Closing square bracket. At first I thought it's Great Sage, as it has the same voice. But something felt off. Great Sage, is that what you call world language? Confirmed, she responded. World language, or sometimes called the voice of the world, as she explained, are voices that can be heard when a huge changes in the world occurred. It also can be heard when acquiring skills, or when it is acknowledged. Anyway, this is no time to be talking to myself. I made a slight mistake. I don't know how to stop. Since I released a lot of water, I was rocketing forward at an astonishing speed. Looks like Mikami did the same, as I saw him speeding up, slowly catching up to me. This is a bad idea. He shouted at complaint. I know, and I'm regretting doing it. If only I think of a countermeasure about this, then I would have been stopped way back before. Just what happened to the mind of my manipulative self? And it's not like I'll be able to do anything, so whatever. Then, without realizing it, I ascended upwards by a smooth rock, making a loud splash upon exiting the lake. Only a fraction of a second, Mikami also did the same. I continued flying in the air, with nothing in my mind. I stopped upon hitting another big rock, making me bounce in a zigzag-like way. Then, the momentum stopped, and I rolled over a few more seconds, before the suffering finally ended. Wah! I can hear screaming from behind me, must be him. Weird, I didn't feel any pain at all. Not even the shock of the impact from the rock earlier. Received. You have acquired cancel pain, which interrupts the creation of pain. Your resist melee attack has reduced the amount of damage taken. The amount of damage your body has incurred is 10%. The intrinsic slime skill self-regeneration has taken effect. Closing square bracket. I see, so not only I can regenerate, but I cannot also feel pain, just a little. But the self-regeneration kicked in before I feel it. This slime body isn't as bad as I thought. But, I wouldn't really mind either way if I'm a human or not. Foo-ah, he sighed upon stopping rolling. Hitting me from behind. Huh, upon standing up, he felt himself as he noticed that he didn't get a single scratch. Weird, I didn't feel any pain at all. I said the exact line. Oh, then, can someone, he stopped, must be Great Sage answering his question. Upon ending a chit-chat with Mikami, I felt a huge and powerful a monstrous presence behind me. It's evil is nothing compared to my magical capacity. Even if me and Mikami here combined it, we couldn't stand a chance on this monster. Kukuku, kuahahaha. I then heard a laugh from the monster. An intelligent monster. It has the ability to use magic sense, so maybe an evolved one. I still lack information regarding this world, so I don't know. I used my magic sense to clearly see who on earth it is. A visitor, I haven't met one for such a long time. Kuahahaha, he stated full of pride. Seeing who it is, I stared at it with my eyes even though I don't have one open. Its never-ending mana is enough to intimidate almost anyone. Its size is also a little bit big than a normal dragon. Blue scales with glistening golden eyes, just staring at it will definitely scare you. There's only 3 words to describe this majestic dragon in front of me. A literal monster. What's the matter? Can you perhaps see me? The massive dragon questioned me. Though I didn't have anything to lose by answering. I don't feel like doing so. It might be sound rude, but I don't even know what will he do to us. Maybe we're just foods in his eyes. Or maybe he'll just ravage our slime bodies, turning us to sliced pieces of blue meat. Whoa-ah, exclaimed by the other slime behind me. Scared by the giant monster in front of him, Mikami hid behind my back while peeking on my side. Calm down, we can't show any weakness here. I tried calming him down, but looks like it didn't have any effect. Well, I can't certainly blame him. If I were a normal person slime, I would have been scared. By the view of such monstrous power too. However, something feels off. May I ask who you are? I returned the question to him. I need to find out as soon as possible what kind of personality he has. As it seems to be that he has the intelligence to speak and think, I might ascertain what type of monster he is by giving me enough information. Trying to find out what kind of dragon I am. Such a cunning creature you are. Kuahahaha. Quote, wait, you can read my mind. That'll be pretty bad if he can read my thoughts. Of course, as I, the dragon race, one of the 4 in the world, the strong and powerful storm dragon Veldora, can do anything. Kuahahaha, the dragon who named himself as Veldora said so full of confidence. And do not worry, as I will not eat you little ones. And I cannot do it even if I want to anyway, he mumbled the last part, which made it hard to hear. Looks like Mikami here calmed down a little, as he let out a sigh before showing himself in front of the said dragon. Hello, he introduced himself in such a way, though there's still a slight nervousness on his tone. Understandable, as we don't even know how we're going to escape anyway. Relax, I won't harm the both of you. I can't trust your words. I replied flatly. Veldora, who seems shocked by the words I said, became depressed as he lowered his head with slight tears in his eyes. Just then, Mikam, I leaned his face on my side then started whispering at me. Hey, don't say things like that. If that dragon got angry at you, we'll surely be done for. I fully agree on what he said, but I just really can't trust his words. We just met a few minutes ago, how can I trust someone who's more powerful than me in terms of magical abilities? There's even the possibility of him eating us. Actually, in this situation, we're just rabbits visiting a snake's den. Once we're inside, we cannot leave its house. Unscratched. Crap, I forgot that he can read my mind. Upon hearing my thoughts, he lowered his head yet again as he slightly sobbed at us. I'm sorry, I'm just being wary. I do not intend to hurt your feelings. No matter, I kinda get your point anyway. He finally cheered up. Thank goodness. Anyway, it really is strange to see monsters with such intellect as you both. He said, really, since I still lack information regarding this world, might as well extract some from him. So you're not from this world, So that explains it. I didn't catch that. Would you mind explaining? He explained to me that all monsters born from high magicals or magic born only has the intellect to think, analyze and the alike. They also has the capability to hold conversations such as this. He, having an infinite amount of magicals constantly leaking from here, thought at first that maybe we are born from his magicals. More like we think that maybe we are his son, in which he fully denied. However, upon hearing me said those words earlier, he seems to got the fact that we are in other worlders. He said that we're also called transmigrant, creatures who retain their memories on their soul to cross the universe and such. Well, since there's no point in hiding it anyway, I explained to him the situation me and Mikami are in. Nevertheless, I didn't said all of them though, mixing lies here and there to make it sounds believable. What kind of lies I made, you ask? Well, let's just say that I got reincarnated in this world even though I didn't die in my previous world. Wait, am I really sure no one killed me? Well, that's not a problem anymore anyway. It's normal to have other worlders like the both of you. Though not occasionally, humans tend to summon beings from other worlds to make them their followers, weapons, or maybe heroes at that. He stopped talking midway before continuing. Weapons. So summoned humans doesn't have human rights here. What a world we live in. However, to see other humans from another world being monsters, that's certainly rare. I never met one for the past centuries. Not even once. Normally, humans who got reincarnated in this world will maintain its species as a human. They wouldn't change. Naturally, they would lose parts of their memories, however. It's a toll to take for keeping their existence. Creatures like me and Mikami are certainly rare breeds. And he confirmed it. But something really is bugging me since earlier. Veldora can move from your location. You've been standing there for like hours without making any slight movement. I asked, which made him flinch. Unlike Mikami here, who's been fidgeting ever since we started earlier. Got bored on our little conversation, though he's still barely listening. However, Veldora is standing there still, not even going near us nor giving us a sign of trying to walk. Maybe he's used to standing there without doing anything besides talking. Or maybe he's trapped there. I may be overthinking things as well, and I cannot really assume things like I know everything. Well, I really know everything. In my past world, that is. Good observation skills you have. I certainly cannot move from my location. As that person just sealed me 300 years ago, cuckoo. Though admitting his defeat, he still sounds confident and full of pride. That person, Mikami, who got curious by the conversation, asked. Indeed, she's the same as you. Well, not really. She got summoned here to be a hero. But she's still a human so you don't have the same circumstances, but only a little. So, why did you got sealed away? I asked. Hearing my curious question, I saw sweat forming on his blue scale cheeks. He averted his eyes away as he looked somewhat troubled. You can say that. Well, I made some trouble back in the days. So he's a troublemaker back then. No wonder as he seems to be boastful about his strength and such. I can imagine him wrecking havoc here and there. But she's not strong at all. Her divine protection is just above the average as well. I only let my guard down that one time. She took the chance and sealed me by her unique skill, unlimited imprisonment. If only I took the battle seriously, I wouldn't lost and sealed here. Well, not that I mind either way. As usual, his prideful and boastful personality was still there while making that statement. He started talking about this girl hero as if talking to himself while reminiscing over the past. How had the fight gone with this hero? How strong was she? Her skin was pale in color, the dragon told me, her lips were bright red and small. Her long hair was a dark shade of silver, kept back in a single ponytail. She was slim, not that tall, rather small for a human. Her face was apparently covered by a mask, but there was no doubting her beauty. Apparently she carried a long, curved sword. A katana, it was called. She didn't bother with a shield. Taking advantage of two unique skills, absolute severance and unlimited imprisonment, and a wealth of other magic, she, as Veldora put it, overwhelmed him. There was more than a trace of nostalgic contentment in his voice, or so it seemed to me. Something I picked up on as we spoke was that this dragon, I think he really liked humans. He kept calling them wimps, and garbage, and such, but from the way he put it, he never deliberately killed anyone who attacked him. Not unless they went out of their way to rile him. One time, 3 centuries ago, just one time. He emphasized a certain chain of events made him reduce an entire city to embers. That was what made the people send a hero his way, and now thanks to that hero's unlimited imprisonment he was in his current predicament. Mikami, who's been fidgeting all over the place, surprisingly asked the dragon. So friends then? He asked. Both me and Veldora become shocked by the question. A slime, a mere slime, asking a being such as me to be a friend. Oh no, I mean, it's okay if you don't want to. Scared by the chances of him getting on the bad side of the dragon, he resorted to such tactic of backing down. Who said about not wanting to? Such a tsundere you are. I said in a sigh. Wah, thank you, Professor, for teaching me this term for teasing someone. Despite having a big, monstrous appearance and unlimited amount of mana, he's still childish on the inside. It's settled then. If you don't want to, we'll never come back again. Mikami sighed. Who's apparently on my side by the time I realized it. He suddenly became daring. There's no traces of him being scared of this mythical creature just a few seconds ago. No, all right, I'll be your friend. But don't get me wrong. It's not like I like that or anything. All right, we're glad to be on your care. He shouted. Likewise. Oh, right, let me give you both a name. And in exchange, you'll give one to us 3. Why, where'd that come from? It shall chisel into our souls the fact that we are of the same rank. Something similar to the family names the humans use, except my name, for you, will also provide a kind of divine blessing. You are still nameless now, but through this, you will become a full-fledged named monster. Me, who's apparently listening on the sideline ever since Mikami talked, become interested on the topic. But we have names though? I asked. No, that's the case in your previous world, but not here. You're just newborn monsters. The world still doesn't recognize you for who you are. Quote, I got the point. So by thinking of a common name for us 3, he'll give us both a name. So that we'll get this blessing or some sort. You say that you're the Storm Dragon. How about Tempest, then? Mikami said. Tempest. Kuahahaha. Nice, no, it's perfect. My name from now on will be Veldora Tempest then. He said. Then as for you, you shall be Rimuru. Rimuru Tempest. He continued. Mikami Rimuru, a newly named monster, seems to like the sound of it, as I saw a tint blush on his face. Then, after naming the other slime beside me, he turned his gaze at me. Looks like it's my turn now. And you, the knowledgeable and genius one. You shall be known from now on as. I wonder what kind of new name I would get. It's not like I would complain if it's bad or not. Just by getting one on this new world is enough for me. Rimuru Pav. Rimuru, that sounds really nice and unique. Veldora, despite his appearance, has a good sense for this kind of thing. Though he may be intimidating most of the time, it's good that I became his friend, I guess. His childish personality feels good to tease too. I shouldn't worry about him too much, as he seems to be a good person dragon. Hehe, my mistake. What I'm interested about is the name he'll give to my buddy here. I wonder what kind of name he'll get. Maybe a unique one like mine too. You shall be known from now on as. He stopped midway, resting his big hands on his chin, thinking about it. He easily named me and yet he didn't come up for Kiyotaka. I felt this is kinda unfair, but I know he wouldn't mind either way. I'm sure he'll think like, I don't really mind if it's bad or not. So long as I have one, that's enough. Or something, just kidding. It's hard to think of a name that's best suited for Tempest, he mumbled those words. Now, I feel that this really is unfair. Why didn't he think of one before naming me? I feel sorry for Kiyotaka here. Anything is fine, I guess, Kiyotaka said besides me. As usual, he really is matured. Yep, a 37-year-old lowly salaryman is saying that a 16-year-old boy is much more matured than him. I feel humiliated by my own words. I ended up sighing on my mind as I looked down, staring at the rocky floor while thinking about a name for him. Kiyotaka Pav. Looks like he's having trouble naming me. Though, I wouldn't really mind anything, I don't think that's the right words to say right now. Rimuru, on the other side, is deep in his thoughts, maybe also thinking of an idea to say to Veldora. This guys really are enthusiastic about this kind of stuff. Can I propose something? I raised my voice to snap them on their thoughts, in which I easily succeeded doing so as they look at me with confused eyes. What is it? Veldora asked. I'd like to retain my previous name if possible. I think it's best suited for my new surname, Tempest, wouldn't you say so, Rimuru? I asked as I turned my gaze away from Veldora to him. He seems to be thinking about what I said, as he created his own world and easily got lost deep in his thoughts. Kiyotaka Tempest, Rimuru mumbled, but looks like Veldora heard it. Kiyotaka, so that's your name, Kukuku, why didn't you said so earlier? Then, he said those words as he increased his tone every words, which made my eardrums hurt. Well, I don't have any ears to begin with. From now on, little one, you shall be known by the world as Kiyomaru Tempest, he said in an excited tone before letting out a roar. Hee, cute right. If you don't like it then I don't care. Whatever. Closing parenthesis. What? Rimuru, who seems to be shocked by the sudden changes, stretched his body to clap, proud about the originality of the name. Wait, my name is Kiyotaka, not Kiyomaru. But you said anything is fine though. Veldora counterattacked me, in which I only stayed silent as he is right. I did say that I'm good with anything, but I told them that my previous name is enough. There's no need to change here and there. And besides, Kiyotaka is way too plain, that's why I changed it from the way Rimuru's name sounds. Well, Kiyomaru and Rimuru certainly has the same sound, and it's nice to be honest, I kinda like the sound of it too. In the end, I only sigh as a reply with a shrug as I said, have it your way. This made Veldora and Rimuru happy by my defeat. The names Kiyomaru and Rimuru are now carved on our souls. It doesn't really change my power, but I can feel it deep within me, something major change. It feels nice. With that, the family of Tempest are now born, and the world recog. Nis the newly born existence known by the name as Kiyomaru and Rimuru Tempest. Rimuru Pav. I'm kinda shocked about it, to be honest. Veldora took the Muru from my name, then changed it to Muru, so that it fits perfectly. Well, it sounds weird if it stayed as it is, Kiyomaru. Ha, that sounds weird. Change the current topic at hand. By the way, Veldora, can't you do anything about that seal? You said that you're powerful. Why not destroy it yourself? I asked in a laid-back and calm tone. I may say that it is a stupid question, considering the fact that he's been there for 300 years and long without doing anything. But there's no harm by confirming the truth. Not with my powers, no. Someone with a unique skill on the same level as the heroes would be necessary for there to be even a chance. Wait, didn't he said that he's very powerful? Where did all of the confidence go to? You don't have any, Veldora. I do, but now that I am sealed off, I can access none of them. Telepa, that is about all I can manage at the moment. So that's why all he can do is intimidate creatures who dare go near him, or talk to them if they're evolved one who can do bold conversations. Wait, let me try something. I rolled over him and touched his body with mine. Invoking unique skill predator to consume unique skill unlimited imprisonment failed. Closing square bracket. I figured as much, but no, I certainly wasn't hero caliber. With a dazzling light, my unique skill tried to do its work but weakly bounced off without any further comment. I thought it might have made a small rip, but that was all. The barrier would repair itself shortly. No doubt, I was hoping that unique skill on unique skill would result in something, but it didn't. Was there anything I could do though? Something. Received. Partia. L analysis of unique skill unlimited imprisonment complete. Reporting a potential escape route. Closing square bracket. Any escape involving a physical body is not possible. The chance of destroying the prison by physically damaging it is 0. Cannot analyze an escape route involving the annulment of imaginary space. Closing square bracket. One would need to be caught within the same unlimited imprisonment situation in order to analyze it from the inside. This is currently impossible. Closing square bracket. The chance of escaping in spiritual form is 1%. Closing square bracket. If a spiritual receptacle is prepared for the target on the outside to aid in the transition, the success rate is 3%. This process is equivalent to transmigration. If the target is poorly compatible with the receptacle, he will lose all memories and abilities. Closing square bracket. Crap, even if Kiyomaru is here to help, the success rate is still 3%. I cannot risk such possibility. This concludes the report on potential escape routes. Closing square bracket. Kind of low numbers, it sounds like. Unlimite. De-imprisonment looked like nothing more than a transparent membrane from my perspective, but physical damage did nothing against it. Maybe it had some kind of insurmountable defense attached to it, for all I knew. Hey, did you lay any damage on this hero at all? Or vice versa? Ah, I am glad you asked. Most of my attacks were evaded, but I did land several direct hits which, I regret, had no effect on her. Death-calling wind, dark lightning, even storm of destruction had no effect, despite being completely unavoidable. A total loss. All I could do was laugh. Veldora then accentuated the point with a loud, hearty guffaw. Suspicious name for a skill, but it sounds very powerful. I better not imagine how it looks like. So if I was going to get him out of here, it would be through transferring his consciousness into a new body. I guess I need some kind of receptacle to get you out of here. Even if it's in spirit form only, it sounds like it ought to be possible. No point telling him what kind of odds he had to go on. I'd just be hurting Veldora further if I dampened his spirits. There is a way out of here. Indeed, I feel my magical force will exhaust itself by no later than 100 years from now. My magic continues to flow out of me, even now. Kiyotaka Kiyomaru, who's been listening on our conversation while keeping quiet, started to go near him as well. He touched Veldora's body, in which I felt a strong power flowing from him through. It's as if half of Veldora's power has been transferred to him. Oh, it must be his Greed King ability. Wait, stop. Didn't he just steal Veldora's magical capacity without his permission? Oh, so that's why I feel weaker than before. Kuahahaha, it must be a unique skill, Upon realizing what he just did, he moved his hands on him, then rolled backwards. I'm sorry, I forgot. I didn't mean to, but I can see Rimuru's solution here. He narrowed his eyes and stared at me. Looks like he also made Great Sage analyze the barrier. So that's why he touched him. I thought he just wanted to steal his skill in magical. Then, I continued talking. Yeah, so you wanna try escaping, maybe? If I had the right receptacle, I think that'd help our chances a fair amount. Do you know what I'd need, though? Indeed, even if I escaped in spiritual form only, it would be quite difficult to regather magic and form my core once more. Your creating a small tear in the prison helped my chances immensely, no doubt. As for that receptacle, the new core, if you can bring one to me, all I'd have to do is traverse myself over to it. Transmigration, I suppose. Looks like he fairly got what I meant. That just made things easier for me. Pretty much, yeah, if it's something I can get on this side, I could look for it for you. To tell the truth, I do not need any core at all. You can keep a secret, I trust. As I said, I am both unique and the most perfect of my kind. A fully unique creation, one that takes purely spiritual form. I have no particular attachment to this body. It is merely the faith of those who live around me that forms the shape you see. There he went again, spouting off complete nonsense. As far as I could piece together in the ensuing conversation, the basic idea went like this. Using his consciousness alone, he could gather magicals toward him to form a physical body. Said body was currently being held in this prison, but that prison also prevented his will from collecting the magic he needed. Could he escape in consciousness form alone? No, because he needed some kind of receptacle. If he simply burst out in spirit form, his essence would scatter to the winds like the magic itself, erasing his very existence. This would result in the birth of a new storm dragon, somehow. Somewhere. I didn't care about the details by this point. But to sum up, maybe he could escape, but if he did, he'd wind up being something else. It wouldn't matter to him. So much for that. But what if I used Predator to consume Veldora himself? I could either analyze him inside my stomach, or isolate him and annul the effect of unlimited imprisonment, and he'd be out. Would that work? Received. It is possible to store the target Veldora in your stomach via the unique skill Predator. Closing square bracket. Really? In that case, if I could convince him of it, we could get going. If I couldn't, he'd Avenue another century of isolation before he was reduced to non-existence. So I spent a few moments explaining the Predator skill to Veldora, and what I wanted to do with it. Kiyomaru, despite already owing what I planned to do in its point, still listened to me with complete concentration. It'd be impossible from the get-go without the sage's help, but... Kuahahaha, fascinating. Please, go ahead. I leave myself at your mercy. You're that ready to believe me. But of course, it'd be far more fun to break through this prison with you than sit around and await your return. So the plan was use Great Sage and Predator to analyze this beast, and Veldora would try to destroy it from the inside. No worries about Veldora dissipating away in my stomach. I was starting to think this could actually work. Alright, so I'm gonna consume you, alright. Hurry up and get out of there. Right away. You shall make me wait no longer. Let us finally join together. Right. I summoned up my stores of resolve. Touching him for a moment, then activated my predation skill. In a moment, Veldora's massive form disappeared from sight. It happened almost too fast. We were talking just a moment ago. Seeing him gone suddenly made me feel very small and very solitary. Thank God Kiyomaru is here with me with a weight. Is that a smug that I saw on his face? Hey, you're smiling, I instinctively shouted. What are you talking about? I don't have any mouth though. Alright, I may be hallucinating. Using the skill on my first target created too much resistance to work at all, but with the help of a fully cooperative Veldora in all his hugeness, it couldn't have gone more smoothly. He and unlimited imprisonment itself were sucked in at once. Conduct analysis of unique skill unlimited imprisonment. Closing square bracket. Yes. No. This better work, I prayed as I thought yes to myself. Kiyotaka Pav. In just the blink of an eye, Veldora, who's as big as my Trex, a dragon bigger than a normal one, immediately vanished in sight. I wish Rimuru succeeded in freeing Veldora. He's such a great man, despite being a dragon who's known as a catastrophe monster. Thank goodness I touched him before Rimuru sucked him away. I gained a lot of skills, a tremendous amount of magicule, and my capacity grew 10 times larger than before. However, I'm still saddened by the fact that I cannot turn into a human. Well, it's a problem for another time, but whatever. So, do you have any plans after this? I asked him in my usual monotone voice. I don't know. At first, I planned to meet some other worlders like us. But now that you're here, I practically achieved that, didn't I? Rimuru laughed upon saying those words with a sloughed blush in his cheek out of embarrassment. How about you? Do you have any ideas in mind? He returned the question to me. I supposed I'll reach the top of the hierarchy. It's better than staying on the lower rank, right? Indeed. Sitting at the throne rather than being a stepping stone is better. Looks like we have the same thought. Then, will you accompany me? Reaching the peak of the system, that is. You're hopeless, aren't you? Haha, of course I'll join you. It's much more fun that way. In the end, we decided to join hands in crushing all of the enemies who'll stand in our way. Of course, I still plan to live in a peaceful way, if possible. However, if they dare stand in front of me, then I'll show no mercy towards that fool. I'm sure Rimuru thinks the same way. We plan to live peaceful, yet not boring. That's the only thing that connects the both of us. Thankfully, I shouldn't be worried too much about him. And I'll assure him that he must think the same way. We are friends, aren't we? Third person Pav. A cataclysm shook the world on that day. It was the only way to describe the reaction when the disappearance of the storm dragon Veldora was confirmed. It wasn't every day that a special S-ranked monster simply vanished without a trace. Monsters, as well as adventurers, were ranked on a system of 6 grades, from A to F. Pluses and minuses could be attached to these grades for extra precision. This system was first put into place by a man named Yuki Kagarizaka. a rumored otherworlder and one of the few to assume the topmost rank of Grand Master in the Free Guild. It was quickly adopted, thanks to being much easier to understand than the previous, somewhat arbitrary four-tier system of Novice, right-pointing arrow, Beginner, right-pointing arrow, Intermediate, right-pointing arrow, Advanced. The special S rank combined the S rank, which comprised Demon Lord class foes that deserved more than simply an A, with the special tag reserved for those above even that class monsters capable of single-handedly engineering calamities or natural disasters. A scale-breaking rank, existing wholly outside the 6 traditional ones. Normally, an A-ranked monster alone would be dreadful enough to threaten the existence of a nation. Someone like Veldora was dangerous enough to plunge it into despair. 300 years of penance had done nothing to affect the dragon's rank as a natural disaster-level threat. Just because he had disappeared didn't mean he couldn't be reborn somewhere, posing a new menace before long. But 20 days after the initial report of his disappearance, the Western Holy Church issued a report that, as far as its investigations could tell, Veldora the Storm Dragon both no longer existed and showed no sign of existing anytime soon. Word spread first in the area around the Forest of Jura, a broad plain dotted with a large number of minor countries. Once Veldora's fate had been broadly reported, each one of them sprang to their feet, the proverbial hornet's nest stimulated to action. Every king and every minister of every nation held day after day of emergency meetings, gathering information and debating what to do next. It was a trying time for the Baron of Vriard, minister of the small kingdom of Bloomond, but not half as trying as it was for the man Vriard had called into his private chamber that day. This was Fuse, a man just as renowned for his sharp, unrelenting eyes as he was for his small stature. He was the guild master for this kingdom, a position affording him a hefty amount of authority even in such a tiny nation. I believe you know why I summoned you here, the Baron began the moment Fuse walked through the archway. You have heard about the Storm Dragon by now, have you not? Fuse nodded. Of course, my Baron, he said in his low, hoarse voice. I suppose I should expect nothing less of you, my good guild master. Now, may I ask about how the guild intends to respond? We do not plan to do anything as of now, sir. Fuse replied in a much more weaker voice. He spat those unbelievable words in front of the Baron. Can you repeat that? Did I heard you right? You don't plan to take action? The Baron questioned. Yes, sir. I do not think taking any actions is necessary. Rather a strange thing to say, is it not? Not necessary. The disappearance of the Storm Dragon may portend further monster activity in the space of days, even hours. And you are taking no measure at all against it. It would strike me as rather strange to do so, sir. For taking such measures is the job of the state. I am responsible for the Free Guild, not for providing volunteer work when bidden. The Free Guild is a non-governmental and independent organization. Its members doesn't have any special guarantee of security or comfort unlike the assorted workers and craftsmen on the government ledger but the basic rights that all citizens were entitled to. This was the system in the Kingdom of Blamond, the same goes for its nearby neighborhood. To put it simply, the Free Guild was a group operating outside the framework of any kingdom, one much more unified than a single government as well. It is not the responsibility of the state to protect the assets of its people. In the same way, it is the guild's responsibility to protect the lives of its members. We both have a lot on our plates, I suppose. Fuse made his point, but the Baron failed to notice it. Enough pretense, Guild Master. How many mercenaries can you provide us? How many adventurers with combat experience? What is the size of the defense force you can provide in service? I need numbers. I do hope we are on the same page when I say this, sir, but I will remind you. We are not an army of volunteers. If we are talking about a mobilization based on the terms of our agreement, I can provide you the equivalent of 1/10 of our members. If you wish access to anything beyond that, well, that would all depend on our compensation. The population of the kingdom counts almost exactly 1 million, while the Free Guild local membership log counts 7,000 excluding family members and such. Thus, if the kingdom decided to invoke its agreement with the guild and muster 10% of its members, 700 in all, these fighters would officially join the command of the national army. Such an order, of course, would apply only to guild members who belong to Bloomond and no other nation. All Free Guild members fell under the same banner. But their home nations were also clearly stated in the logs for this reason. What's more, while a nation had the right to define its own mobilization period under this agreement, it was so obliged to give the guild a 1/5 discount on taxes collected during the entire period. This allowed governments to rapidly summon a powerful force, and the guild to make sure its men would not be obligated to the state for too much of their time. For a group like the guild, which was required to pay salaries to all deployed members in advance, it was the obvious approach to take. Besides, even if a government asked for every man the local free guild had, there would be no way to handle them. After all, only about half of any guild's membership had any fighting skill. The Bloomin nobles were fully aware of this. Normally, they wouldn't have their top minister attempt to bully the guild master into better terms, but the times demanded otherwise. The monsters were stirring, for one, but even beyond that, they had more pressing motivations. Very well, enough of this. Are you trying to wring the truth out of me, Fuse? Upon hearing those words, Fuse raised his eyebrows, even for a little. It's not every day to hear the Baron call his name. He turned his gaze from the floor to the Baron himself. The area near Veldora's prison was meant to be absolutely impenetrable. He said, "No, that route may potentially be open to direct navigation, and that means we must consider the possibility of the Eastern Empire taking action." He continued, "Ah, certainly so." The Baron clapped his hand as he spoke. "Whether they were letting Veldora be or were simply afraid of the seal being broken, we have been detecting sudden new movements in the Empire after a long period of silence. Do you understand what that means? If they can navigate that forest, this kingdom will be swallowed up instantly. And we can forget about the Western Holy Church providing us any meaningful support. The Sioux and tribes around the forest of Jura have no meaningful alliance with each other. We will all become Empire vassals in the blink of an eye." He continued, "No support from the Church? I fear not, no. Why never were terribly interested in wars between mere mortals in the first place. Annihilating the monsters is what their doctrine calls for. Quite so. If we could have them deploy even one of their paladins, the Empire wouldn't be so quick to move. Not needing to prepare for monster attacks would buy us some time, at least. I doubt anything could stir the Church to action," Fuse said before stopping for a second. Then he continued, "The destruction of a nation or two does nothing to affect their own finances. They cannot help everyone, nor even their own flock." He took a moment to gauge the Baron's face. Vryard looked exhausted, as if he had aged rapidly in just the past few days. It was understandable. The two of them were childhood friends. And even though Vryard was merely a baron, if the public knew of Fuse's close contact with a member of the nobility, it would create assorted difficulties for the both of them. They both had to pretend to use each other for their own personal gain. Which was why they usually portrayed their relationship as surly and resentful. It would take more than the power of a small kingdom to overcome this thorny obstacle they now faced. But perhaps, Fuse thought, his friend was being overly anxious. The Empire was on the move, it was true, but that didn't mean they should expect an attack before sunset. "But how do we know the Empire will take action against us? I will gladly conduct my own personal inquiries into the matter. I'd advise you not to expect much, but I can at least gauge the situation in the forest of Jura and around the Empire," he offered. "I would appreciate that." Yes, there was no guarantee the Empire would act against them. If it was going to, it would undoubtedly be with a large force. It was never a nation to waste its time with small skirmishes. No, it would casually send over a force of 1,000,000 or so and trample over every nation in the area, one by one. Assembling such an army would take time, at least 3 years or so. Which was not a generous amount, but it created some wiggle room to work with. "I had best begin gathering information, then," Fuse said to close the conversation. "There is little time. I am off." "Thank you." The two of them nodded and went their separate ways. There was much to do. The main thing I remember is the fire raining down. The grip of my mother's hand against mine felt so light, fleeting. And I was too terrified to see the way ahead. An incendiary bomb went off nearby, turning our surroundings into a sea of flame. Where were we supposed to go? It was burning. All around us. Ishizu Izawa felt myself teetering on the brink of desperation. Ah, is this where I'm going to die? Even at the age of 8, I understood that well enough. I had no relatives I could rely on. I lived alone with my mother. My father had been drafted into the war so long ago that I didn't even remember what he looked like. I was never quite sure whether I should be happy or sad about that, but either way, it had become my normal life, and I had to accept it for what it was. Me, and my life, and my fate to die in the flames. And then, "You want to live. If you want to live, heed my voice." A voice echoed in my head. Did I want to live? How should I know? I was too young to answer that question. Still, though looking at my mother, now just a pair of hands after she had shielded me with her body, I couldn't stop the tears from coming. And I thought to myself, I want to live. Confirmed. Responding to summoner's request successful. Closing square bracket. I can't take it anymore. It's too scary, it's too hot. Help me. Mom, I lay there and cried, no longer fearful of the flame, as I wished life for myself. Confirmed. Extra skills, control flame, and cancel flame attack, successfully acquired. Closing square bracket. Then my wish came true. Just not exactly the way I'd hoped for. When I next awoke, I was inside the lair of a monster, a lone man in front of me. He had blue eyes, long blonde hair, a well-defined face, and long, slitted eyes. His skin was so pale, I thought I could almost see through it. His sheer beauty would make nearly anyone mistake him for a woman. His name was Leon Cromwell 10. The most powerful figures of this world, a so-called demon lord ascended from the human race. Also known as the Platinum Devil. He sized me up. Another failure, he whispered, seemingly disappointed at the sight of me. And he showed no further interest in me after that. Perhaps that was why he never bothered killing me, not even with the serious burns I had all over my body. I was close to death, and I didn't even matter to him. Just a frail little girl clinging to life and no doubt dying soon enough if left alone. I couldn't stand that thought. I was still alive, I didn't want to be abandoned. And I never forgot that experience. That moment of frustrated desperation as he sized me up and tossed me away. That memory wound up following me for the rest of my life's journey. At the time, I had nobody to turn to. None of the strength I needed to survive. The only chance I had to keep going was Leon, my demon lord. He symbolized power to me, and being abandoned by him literally meant death. I suppose I must have instinctually understood that, because without even thinking about it, I had extended a hand out toward Leon. Help me, but the longing arm I stretched out to the demon failed to reach him. I gave up on myself, and with that came the anger. I really am going to die here. The sheer selfishness of rescuing me and then leaving me to die was something I just couldn't let go of. You liar, I said, summoning what little strength I had left. You asked me if I wanted to live. I couldn't stop the tears as I glared straight up at the demon. I was no longer capable of forming a coherent sentence. But if I had to summarize my thoughts, I suppose they'd be along the lines of this. You called for me, you gave up on me, I can't believe you ignored me. That's cruel. In the end, it was another demonic whim that saved me. His eyes eerily lit up once more. Hey, a liar, he whispered. One moment, that ominous reply filled me with anxiety, but my near-fatal burns left me with nothing else to do. All I could do was prostrate myself before the will of this monster, this Leon. I had thought you were merely garbage, he said, but maybe you're suited for flame after all. Then he activated the summoning spell for Ifrit, the Fire Titan. It was easy for him. No casting required at all. And when the giant appeared, he tossed him a casual order. I'm giving you a body. Use it well. It was all the evidence anyone needed to show that Leon treated me as less than human. My frustration began evolving into hatred. The trauma was etched into my mind at such a tender age. You want to live? If you want to live, show me your will. It must have been my imagination. There was no way the demon lord could have ever said anything like that to me. No way he have extended a hand out to me just before I succumbed to my burns. But it was true. Thanks to having my body possessed, I lived because of him. The summoned Ifrit followed his orders, attempting to merge himself with my young frame. I immediately felt my limbs grow numb. It felt as if Ifrit was trying to snatch my body away from me. Just as Leon ordered, he was attempting to commandeer my body for his own use. Confirming. Do you wish to be possessed by Ifrit in order to live? Closing square bracket. Yes. No. As I cowered at the ghastly force flowing into me, I silently prayed to myself. I don't want to die. Not yet. But I can't let my old self disappear. Kiyomaru Pav. It's nearly been 30 days or a month to be exact, after Rimuru ate the existence known as Veldora. I have a premonition of some sort that something big will about to happen, somewhere. And I'm sure it'll have a huge impact on our lives. But there's no point in thinking about something that I won't experience right now. What I should do is to watch out about the path that we're taking. 30 minutes have passed after we stumbled upon this huge human-made gate that size around 25 feet tall. I can sense something about this door. Or maybe someone behind the door. That's why I signaled Rimuru to hide behind a rock, or something that can hit his body. I did the same, of course, and my hunch is correct. Slowly, the door opened with a creak. Must be because it's already old. Phew, finally got this thing open. The whole lock-in mechanism must have rusted out, someone said. Yeah, I'll bet. Nobody's even tried going in for 300 years or whatever. Right, replied a second voice. There is no record of anyone attempting an entry. Are you sure we're safe? We are not leaving ourselves open to sudden attack, commented a third. Gah ha ha ha, laughed the second one. Come on, maybe this guy was invincible a few centuries back, but it's just a big overgrown lizard, you know. I told you guys about how I bagged a basilisk solo once, didn't I? It'll be fine. I was wondering about that, actually, the third replied. Are you sure that's the truth, Cobble? A basilisk is a B+ ranked monster. You truly handled that by yourself. Quit playing dumb. I'm B ranked, you know. Some huge reptile ain't gonna faze me. Alright. Just keep your guard up, if you could. And remember, we can always use my escape skill if things turn sour. Can we save the friendly chit-chat for later? The first interjected. I need some quiet. It's just about time for me to activate concealing arts. 3 of them, it sounded like. None of them making much of an effort at stealth. And I understood everything they said, too. Odd. Received. Your magic sense skill can be adapted to decipher sound waves that have willful meaning stored inside them. Closing square bracket. So I can understand them yet I can't talk to them. This is good, for now. I don't need to speak to them anyway. Just understanding their language is fair enough. The first humans that I saw on this world is a 3-man group of, what they call, adventures, in this world, as Veldora stated. They tend to explore caves or dungeons, such as this one. They also often accept quests to kill monsters, or guard someone and such. In this world, Veldora said that humans feared monsters and vowed to exterminate its kind. A particular group, or what they call, Western Saint Church. Anyway, the 3 humans vanished in sight, but I can still see them despite one of them used a concealing skill. Looks like they left. Yeah, I don't even know what to do. He replied. Well, we can talk to them by using the skill we acquired from the bats, ultrasonic wave. Its main purpose is for echolocation, to confuse enemies, or make them lose consciousness, just the same as coercion. But the skill didn't matter to me, it's the sonic wave that it emitted. I finally restored my voice, the same for Rimuru. Though we're still practicing it, the voice ended up cracking, or if not, it'll end up sounding so loud that it can destroy your eardrums. Yep, still need a lot of practice. Out of all the skills that I acquired from the monsters in this cave, this is the most beneficial, at least for me. There's no need to do anything. They'll just kill us if they ever saw us, right? Agreed. Better watch out for humans then. I nodded my head, then we proceed to leave the cave from a hole in the floor of a mountain or a small hill. The light pierced through my eyes, it feels as though this is my first time seeing the sun. After a few months, we finally see lights from the sun. He exclaimed, scaring the nearby birds resting in the tree. The cave that Veldora is sealed ended up being in a forest. We better off away from danger. He said. He must have say. NSED the powerful magicule coming from the forest. Despite being powerful himself, he doesn't want the trouble of fighting monsters. Though I don't plan to leave him alone anytime soon, he said it just in case. I have to agree. That's the only answer I give before we left the cave towards the forest. Time skip. We continued bouncing our way on a straight man-made path created towards the cave that we just left. The sun continued to set as we do, which means that we left the cave at midday. I have a pretty accurate clock with me, if I may say so. Anyway, it was now past 4 in the afternoon. This time of the day, I would have been in my dorm eating dinner. Sadly, I won't experience hunger, and I can't savor the flavor of foods anyway. Oh, by the way, on what school are you studying? He opened up another topic about me. Tokyo Metropolitan Advanced Nurturing High School. Whoa, seriously, I heard that's one hell of a school. He shouted, in which I appreciate if he didn't. Don't shout, but yes, I agree. The exams are, well, hard I guess. Much harder than regular ones you took. I said in a sarcastic tone, which made him chuckle. Though I said it's hard, that's the case for the other students, I guess. We continued bouncing on the way to no particular place. Being bored bouncing in silence, Rimuru messed on his skills, hitting nearby trees with his lightning, water blades, and such. I did the same of course. For the sake of being using them. I acquired a lot of skills, actually, just by touching Veldora. As I used a lightning skill on a tree, completely annihilating it, I sensed monsters behind me. I turned my head around, seeing pack wolves 2 meters in length, which is fairly tall compared to me. Yipe, or so they say, before turning around and running away in fear. What's that? Rimuru asked. It's nothing, just some pathetic monsters being scared of a mere slime. I said, well, despite your appearance, you're 10 times stronger than me, so maybe they sense that. Perhaps. I stopped talking as I sensed a group monsters walking towards us. Rimuru also did, as he looked at the direction of bushes rustling. Rimuru Pav. A group of green humans. Wait, they're not humans. A group of 30 goblins showed to us, fully equipped with rusted iron armors and swords of the same status. Some of them have axes, spears and staffs. Some of them are dressed in nothing but stained rags. Which isn't intimidating at all if that's their motive. Then, the leader of the group, which is in the middle front, finally opened his mouth. SSS Strong O1s, have you business here? Goblins talk. Or maybe magic sense is helping me decipher their grunting. And what's with the strong ones? They're surrounding us with weapons and numbers, and yet they're scared by 2 slimes. Wait, now that I remember it, I have an idea. Since I'm still not used in speaking, this is a chance to practice my voice. I gave them a quick look over. Despite being well equipped, they seems to be scared by us. Some of them are ready to flee, but is still maintaining their fighting stance, swords pointed at us. The leader, meanwhile, is biting his lower lips while his eyes drilling on our bodies. They seem intelligent enough. Maybe this conversation thing could work out after all. But will they understand me? Good day. My name is Rimuru, and this is Kiyomaru. We're slimes. They murmured to each other. Maybe because a talking slime is rare. Wait, do slimes even talk? Then, after a few minutes of murmuring, they prostrated themselves by throwing away their weapons and lowering their heads on the floor. Strong one, we knew that you're strong. But please, lower your voice. Wait, did that ended up being loud? I turned my stare from them to Kiyomaru, who's on my side, asking him by my eyes alone. He gave me an I don't know look before looking away. Damn it, look at me. Help me, Kiyomaru Pav. I'm still sensing something suspicious about this coincidence meeting. But I decided to keep my mouth shut. I narrowed my eyes and darted my gaze on the group. Their local god, as they said, gives protection to their tribe and other monsters from attacks and such. However, a month ago before today, their god suddenly vanished and the protection that they've been granted is gone. Which means that they are prone to human invasions, other monsters stronger than them. And travelers, since they have nothing to fear anymore. If I may say though, this local god of them must be Veldora, considering the timing of his disappearance. I knew something big is about to happen, I said under my breath as I isolated myself from the group. We're currently walking to their small village to show hospitality towards us, which they called us the strong ones, or something. Apparently, their village will be engaging a fight or an invasion from the direwolves. They want manpower and numbers, of course, that's why when they sense someone powerful, they immediately head out to see who it is. Which turned out to be us. To be perfectly blunt, I don't want to meddle on this personal matters, as it doesn't have anything to do with us at all. But Rimuru, being a good-hearted person slime he is, decided to hear them out before coming to a decision. I won't mind, really, and I'll respect his decision no matter what it is. However, without seeing this direwolf's potential, I cannot underestimate them. We finally arrived at the said village deep in the forest. It's already past morning when we arrived, which is a long journey on foot if I may say so myself. Stopping in front of a wooden and old hut, the leader of the group entered first by swiping off the dirty cloth which serves as a door. There, on a chair, sat an old goblin while holding a wooden cane. He then stood up upon seeing us. Then the goblin who accompanied us stand beside him. I'm the elder of this village. I sincerely apologized for our poor hospitality. Such a tea for a strong one like you two is clearly not enough. He said. He slight bowed his head, then the other goblin did the same. So, what do I do as a favor? Rimuru said, cutting straight to the point. A wise choice for words, Rimuru. But you cannot say that to someone you haven't met yet alone knowing their names. I let out an internal sigh before hearing the conversation. The elder of the village explained the predicament they are in. Much as the leader of the group who accompanied us earlier said, it seems like he confirmed it himself. The disappearance of their god and of course, the matter with the direwolves. Direwolves are monsters east from the forest newcomers who wants to seize control of the forest since the disappearance of Veldora. Overall, inside the village, there's a total of 100 goblins who can fight, women's included. The direwolves have the same number of troops. However, the only difference is the manpower. Direwolves have the total strength of 10 goblins, so we need 10 goblins in total to stand a chance against one of them. It's clearly impossible, as we need a total of 1,000 goblins to reduce the enemy numbers. Of course, that's only me thinking hypothetically. We're not even sure how capable our troops is. Lack of training, sanity, willpower, courage. We need to confirm that if we're going to defend this village. This information has been gained through the sacrifice of one named goblin, who serves as its guardian of this village, and some other troops besides him. Even knowing that they couldn't win, they still sacrificed their lives in hope that someone will save the village. How admirable, but dumb and foolish. Clearly, Rimuru has his doubt spreading on his face. I can sense it, of course, however, seems like I already knew what he plans to do. Well, I'll just play along for now, I guess. And what's with the strong ones? We're just slimes. We're just weak monsters, aren't we? Rimuru said. Looks like he sensed the thing that I want to say. Great job. This is a test to see if they have the intellect and guts to differentiate the difference between the strong and the weak. If they don't give us an acceptable and suiting reason, then this deal is over. Rimuru Pav. I said those words in a perfectly cold tone, much as Kiyomaru wants. He can be read as easy as reading an open book. Please, stop the humble act. Even if you hide yourself in a slime, your unending magicule can be seen everywhere. Wait, what? Magicule? What do you? I really don't know what he's talking about. Wait, did he said, seen everywhere? So, by using magic sense, I looked at myself for the second time to clearly see an intimidating aura surrounding me. What's this? Is this with me ever since I've arrived here? Whoa, so that's why the monsters in the forest are scared of me. No wonder. With a sweat on my cheeks, I slowly erased and hid this aura until it's left to none. I looked at Kiyomaru to see if he knew about it. And, guess what I saw? He already hid it from way back before. So, at first I thought that the monsters is scared to him, but it turns out that it's scared to me or my aura, specifically. Damn it, why didn't you tell me, you bastard? I wouldn't have embarrassed myself in such a way. Him anyway, looks like you found us out, huh? I said in a low tone. Oh, we're being tested, As expected, he replied. Now that this matter is clear, I need to clear something beside this fight. Say, Elder, what will we get in return for helping this fight? Do you even have anything to give? The truth of the matter. The weak serves the strong. The weak bows before the strong. The weak seek strength from the strong. And what do they get as a compensation? Money, property, women or pleasure, slaves. Anything that they seek will be given, so long as they have the resources. But, that's not the case for a village in a slump like this one. We need to be realistic here. Surely, you're not expecting us to help the village for free, do you? We have no information regarding the strength of this direwolves and their capabilities. It's foolish for us to not get anything while we bet our lives on the line. Kiyomaru added. Looks like we think the same thing. This will make things easier. But honestly, I don't really care much for the compensation and all. Why? Because we're strong. Well, not like I can say the same thing to Kiyomaru though. Maybe he wants a compensation or two. Then, we shall give you allegiance. Please, grant us your guardianship. If you do, we will swear our loyalty to the both of you. He exclaimed while bowing his head. As expected, since they have nothing to compensate in return for our help, and by the help of the pressure that we gave him, he have no choice but to. No, looks like that isn't the case. The eyes of the elder look sincere, looking like he really needs the help of the figures in front of him. It reminds me of a certain someone in my previous world, always messing things up and asking for my help. I smiled internally. All right, your request has been granted. The elder rejoiced in happiness, so did the leader of the group. I turned my head besides me, and, you really are smiling, I shouted, surprised. Kiyomaru, being a person who always deny things, shook his head sideways. You're seeing things. I don't have any mouth. Well indeed. In the end, I gave up. That's how me and Kiyomaru become the new guardian of this village. Third person Pav. Direwolves monsters originating in the east. They live their lives wandering and ambushing weak merchants. Individually, Dire wolves are ranked by the guild as C-rank monsters, not much of a threat, to say the least. However, the real problem comes when they go in groups. On such occurrences, they go up a rank to B-rank monsters. Nevertheless, that's not always the case. Only when a talented alpha was leading the horde did the direwolves show their real worth. The entire pack would act as a single mind, a single creature. Every member acting in lockstep. Such a pack, in full motion, could easily be rated a B. The leader of the current pack know full well how many comrades he lost before. He's also well in for, met about the strength of the empire residing in the east. Attacking low-scale merchants isn't enough for the empire to take action. However, if they ever step foot on the grain field owned by the said empire, they will surely retaliate. However, by how the things are going in the current situation, they won't go anywhere near their goal. As a rule, they don't need to eat foods to survive, solely relying on magicals is enough. Eating humans and stronger monsters, however, will be needed to become a catastrophic level monsters. And surely, just by consuming weak monsters and passerby merchants isn't enough for that. Then they heard tales of the Southlands. A fertile territory, one with a forest that offered all its blessings a vast store of magic. A paradise for monsters, so it was said. In order to reach it, though, they would have to traverse the vast forest of Jura. The monsters of this wood were, in and of themselves, no great foes. Their past experience hunting the stragglers wandering out of it proved as much. So why had they shied away from entering it themselves? Simple. Veldora the Storm Dragon. He was the one and only reason. Even when he was within his prison, the waves of dreadful magical force shook their very hearts. The creatures in the forest, they believed, enjoyed the dragon's divine guardianship, which was why they could survive under those scorching waves. That was what they had to believe. Otherwise, the truth would drive them mad. So despite how it pained them daily, the direwolves had given up on infiltrating the forest. Until now, the alpha turned his blood-red eyes toward the forest. That evil, horrid dragon could no longer be felt. Now is the time, he thought, to hunt the forest clean of monsters, and then we may become the lords of the forest. The idea made him lick his lips and sound the howl commanding his pack to advance. Kiyomaru Pav. After the meeting with the elder and the leader of the village, I left the hut to check how much manpower we've got. The village, to say the least, looks peaceful. On the outside, the number of elderly, women and children counts much more than the ones who can actually fight. And yet, some of those who can fight are all inside a medium-sized tent lying on dirty futons on the ground. Cuts, bruises, and beaten-up faces. Grave injuries and such. The situation is much more worse than I thought. I can't rely on this goblins. They'll just be worsening their situation if they ever want to fight. That'll be a problem in and itself. Just then, an idea came in mind. I made my way on the hut where Rimuru and the elder is. I whispered Rimuru about what it is. And of course, he immediately did what I told. After a few hours and so, I made a temporary meeting for all of the goblins in the village surrounding me the instant it is held. I bounce my way on a small log before looking a clear look at all of them. Even if I'm here in a new world or the previous one, I still can't stand being in the spotlight like this. But the situation is much worse, I need to bear with it. Standing there a meters behind me, Rimuru gave me a nod, then I proceeded to talk. Right, everyone, do you know what kind of situation we are in? Yes, sir, the leader said, then took a step forward. We're going through a fight where it will decide whether we live or die. He said, looks like one of them or maybe some, gets how much danger they are in. Some are shaking, while some have tears on their eyes. The pressure of giving us their hope doesn't compare to the ones they're feeling right now. I cannot think of any inspirational words to say. Since I'm not that kind of person, I'll just state the truth to them, then that'll be the end of it. Relax. Don't get so worked up. If we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose. Just give everything you've got. Rimuru said on the sidelines. He noticed me looking at him, in which he formed a smile. I only nodded, then made another look out at the goblins. The outcome of the fight will be decided later. For now, feel at ease. This may be your last time laughing or just another one in the more days to come. I said. I haven't expecting such words to came out of my mouth. Well, not that it bothers me anyway. Yeah, they all raised their hands up before shouting a battle cry. Time skip. Third person Pav. Later that night, somewhere near the village of the said goblin. In a small mountain, the alpha has his eyes open while looking at the beautiful view of full moon. Now is the time for them to make their attack. But before doing so, he made one of the wolves scoop the area near the village they will try to destroy. Then, the wolves reported that there's two monsters emitting strange auras around them. Their magicals rivaled, or already past their own leader. Especially one of them who almost has the same capacity as a catastrophic level monster. However, the Alpha just shrugged at this. He doesn't believe someone who has the same power as him exist. The Y followed an injured goblin sprinting his way towards the village. Attracted by the scent of blood covering the fleeing goblin, they made their move. At that moment, he saw something strange. The village is protected by wooden fences. And, in the entrance of the village, two slimes accompanied by goblins who's equipped by swords and spear are looking at them with determination. As they stopped, on their tracks while they gaze at the monsters, the slime on the left move ahead. All right, if you guys stop what you're going to do and leave this place, I'll promise to not harm any of you. He said, which pissed the Alpha off. Impertinent little bastard, leaving just one entryway open to block a mass attack. Just the kind of shallow thinking one should expect from a garbage monster like this. Our claws and fangs would make mincemeat out of that rickety old thing. By using thought communication to order the first wave of wolves to attack, he stays still there while feeling the superiority between them. Thinking that it's enough numbers to destroy the fences, he becomes shocked after seeing the wolves who jumped up the fence be blown away. Some of them are bleeding, while the others have their head chopped off, blood splatting on the grass field. Boss, that's it. Those two monsters are the ones I reported to you before. Nonsense, the Alpha thought as he looked at the slimes. It was a small monster. They would occasionally be born here and there along the plains. Even calling them monsters at all seemed absurd. Their whole existence was petty. That thing, holding more force than me. The Alpha fumed. Impossible. Phew. Indeed, were the monsters more sly and crafty than the Alpha. He had years of experience to draw upon, and he could summon it on the fly to calmly, nimbly formulate a new plan. And his years of experience told him that this monster could not possibly be stronger than he was. Right there, for the first time, the Alpha committed a fatal mistake, one that would ultimately decide his fate. Kiyomaru Pav. As expected, they will surely attack the fence once they saw how weak it is. How should I call them then? Stupid, idiots, unintelligent monsters. Even Ike, if he ever is a monster at this world, will surely do much more than that. I cannot hide my disappointment. After all those talk on how we're going to risk our lives, then this. They didn't listen to my heroic talk. Rimuru said in embarrassment and astonishment. No problem at all. I already expected that this will happen anyway. He blinked at me for 17 times. Wait, you made me remember that script for nothing. I didn't do a thing to help this village then. He shouted in disbelief. Don't be angry. You already healed the goblins earlier, that's enough help already, right? Even if they ever destroyed the fence. We have enough troops for protecting the others from the enemies. I made Rimuru heal the injured goblins inside the tent by the hippocrate grass, or rather, the healing pot. Ion that we produced provided by that herb. Nevertheless, I'm expecting this fight to be much harder than that, that's why I made him to it. But, really, thank God I have the sticky thread skill. Yeah, by adding the strengthened fence by sticky thread acquired from the spiders back in the cave, they will surely cut their skin or maybe head off if they ever cross near us. Well, I'm insisting I'll help in building the thread around the village since it's dangerous, but they didn't want me to. Rimuru said with a sigh. I somewhat agree with him, as the thread aren't visible in the IE. XCEPT for the ones who have blessed eyesight. But I'm sure the goblins felt guilty that they're making their new guardians do the. I'm cut on my thoughts as I saw a head flying near me. It stopped rolling exactly beside me. A direwolf's head. Yikes, you got blood all over your face. Rimuru said before bursting into laughter. No, that's not funny at all. Not in the slightest. I can see the lead. In the rear growing enraged second per second, as if he wants to attack us at any second himself. Good. Grow furious. Envelope the anger and frustration you have right now. Order your members to make a suicide attack at us. And in the end, why not kill yourself too? The Alpha started running towards us in a very fast speed. His claws scratching the ground as he let out a battle cry. It's all according to plan. Just then after he jumped, I made sure to not place any threads in front of us just a few meters away. Then, as he tried to bite me and Rimuru off, his hands and head got stuck in a thread. Sticky, isn't it? I questioned, which made him angry. False hope, a dangerous yet powerful weapon in deceiving enemies. Mostly used for weaker enemies. Despair, crushed determination, they will surely feel that. Such a bliss for a sadistic person will give them enough pleasure for a year. He tried moving his body in attempt to escape the trap, but to no avail, his head had gone the instant he did so. Rimuru attacked him with a water blade, a surefire way to kill the leader. Now, your leader is dead. Make a decision, submit yourself to us or die alongside him. Rimuru asked. I'm expecting that they're picking the former. But we didn't get any response. Looks like things really won't go the way you want it, does it? They just stood there in complete silence. The remaining direwolves showed no sign of moving. We were still losing numbers-wise, and we'd definitely take some casualties. We made it this far without any goblin blood. I doubted we'd lose at this point, but I'd prefer it ended without a struggle. It was oddly quiet, compared to the pitched battle of a moment ago. I could feel the gazes of the direwolves upon us. At the same time, Rimuru and I gradually started glooping forward. I couldn't tell how they'd interpret this, but I wanted to hammer it home that their boss was dead. In a moment, we're at the Alpha's limp body. Nobody offered any objection. One of their pack, which had taken up position nearby, retreated a step. I touched the dead body of the Alpha. The sage's voice rang in my mind. Would you like to active the unique skill, Greed King? Closing square bracket. Yes. Then, the instant I thought that to myself, the power surging inside me felt somewhat different compared from the last time. I didn't feel my magicule being reduced, nor my magicule increasing. Maybe because the subject is dead. Or perhaps it's just that weak. Then, after seeing me being done, Rimuru swallowed the body of the Alpha. Analysis complete. Mimic. Direwolf ability obtained. Direwolf intrinsic skills, keen smell, thought communication, and coercion, acquired. Closing square bracket. Wait, I can copy its appearance now. I thought I cannot do that. Answer. Because of the strange power known as plot convenience. The author decided that you can now copy the appearance of any monsters used by your unique skill, Greed King. Closing square bracket. I don't really understand what Great Sage means, but it'll be a good skill for deceiving someone. Also for gathering informations on enemy territories, and infiltrating domains. Despite seeing their own boss eaten in front of them, the rest of the direwolves still showed no sign of movement. Rimuru only gave me a smug look and a thumbs up. At this point, they were either gonna freak out and run, or freak out and come for us. Rimuru told them, submit or die, didn't he? Hat might have been throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Rimuru sensed what I'm thinking and planning to do, then he gave me a slight nod. Better give them an escape route, I thought as Rimuru and I transformed into one of them. ARHRR. Listen to me, Rimuru shouted by using the skill coercion. Once, and only once, I will let this go unpunished. If you refuse to obey me, I bid you to leave here at once. I figured that'd be enough to make them scamper off. I was wrong, we pledge our allegiance to you. Now they were kowtowing to us, although it looked more as if they were having a lie down for a nap. But regardless, they had apparently chosen, submit, anyway. Maybe they'd been having a little thought communication conference about it while they were standing there like statues. It beats having to fight them, anyway. That, more or less, marked the official end of the battle at this goblin village. Kiyomoru Pav. A day has passed after the battle between the goblins and the direwolves. By the lack of huts, tents and houses inside the village, some of the goblins are forced to sleep outside while we made the newly allied direwolves to scout and watch over outside the village. It's a huge gamble Rimuru made, considering the chances of betrayal and such, but their assistance isn't also to underestimate a double-edged sword, to say the least. Morning came in just the blink of an eye. Rimuru and I are outside with the elder accompanying us. Rimuru called for a meeting for all of the villagers and new citizens. With Rimuru on the lead with me on the sidelines, I watched veer the situation which will unfold today. Alright, now that our population increased, I would like for you to partner up into a goblin and wolf partnership. All of them, especially the goblins, have the same worried face like the last time. Of course, we can't blame them, since the wolves just attempted to destroy the village themselves. But yesterday's enemies are today's allies. They need to get along starting today. I'm sure they already got our point, so little by little, a partnership here and there are formed. Rimuru turned his gaze away from the crowd on the elder. Elder, may I? Yes, Rimuru-sama, he asked. Since it's inconvenient for me and Kiyomoru to call you he and she, I would like to give you all a name, is that fine? I thought that the first reaction that he'll give is a happy and excited reaction. But my expectations betrayed me. The elder got a serious and shocked face, as if he's against the idea. No, more like it's a trouble to do so. I wonder why. Rimuru-sama, is that fine? He asked. If it's not a problem, I'd like to do so. Rimuru pushed, and the elder only sighed in defeat. The crowd erupted in joy and excitement, as if they won an all-out war. Nope, they already did one. Third-person POV. Starting with the elder, who's now named after the previous guardian of the village known as Rigurd. He added a D on the end, and is now named Rigurd. Next, the goblin scout leader is now named exactly Rigurd. Rimuru, not wanting to complicate and rack his brain any further, decided to spout any names that his brains think of. No, it's not Great Sage, promise, I swear. Closing parenthesis. The same thing happened over and over again until all of the goblin villagers are finished. Somehow, Kiyomaru sensed something bad will happen. His guts is telling him so. Being exhausted and naming all of the 72 goblins, Rimuru started melting like an ice cream. He has been forced by Great Sage to sleep mode for 3 days. Kiyomaru POV. Great, my guts is always correct. Rimuru then turned into a melted blue-coated vanilla ice cream. I wonder how he tastes like. Cannot be answered. Closing square bracket. No, I'm just kidding. Don't take all of my answer seriously, Great Sage. Understood. Closing square bracket. But really though, considering the reactions of the villagers and the wolves, I'm sure naming a monster is a big deal. Rimuru failed to notice this. This is all just hypothetical questions. I need to ask someone with knowledge about this rather than to think about it. First of all, I need to calm the citizens down. This will be a troublesome situation that I cannot handle if they panic like that. Don't worry about him. Everyone, bring him to a shade, place a pillow below him to reduce the cold, clothes are acceptable as well. Be sure to watch over him, take turns. Rigurd. I called his name, who's now in Rimuru's side. Then upon hearing me, his worried expression started decreasing. Then he walked towards me. Kiyomaru-sama, is there some sort of toll in exchange of naming someone? Ah yes, I'm actually planning to tell Rimuru-sama that it takes a lot of magicule when naming someone. Well, his magicule capacity sure is big, but naming 72 goblins is a bit too much. He stared at me, as if analyzing the depth of my soul. It's the same kind of stare that I got from the other side of the mirror back in the days, but a gentle one. Well, Kiyomaru-sama's magicule capacity is a bit larger than Rimuru-sama, so I'm sure you won't have any problems. Rigurd let out a nervous laugh after saying that. Despite eating Veldora himself and gaining his magicule capacity, I'm sure it got weakened, albeit a little. I'm sure he's still not used it, that's why. I'm sure it's also because of Veldora that I got this much magicules. I haven't even tested his skills yet, let alone experience it. Well, the time will come sooner or later. If that's the case, I'll take over Rimuru in naming the wolves then. I bounced my way on the middle, then faced the lined-up wolves, wag. Jing their tails left and right in excitement. Next in line is the Direwolves clan. Starting with the son of the deceased leader and is now the new leader of the group, is named Ronga. Why did I named him Ronga? A combination of Japanese characters of Storm and Fang. A simple yet good name. Being the sole exception in the tribe, Ronga has a star on his forehead. A good combination and a great skin, if I may say so myself. No, forget about that. There's also one direwolf with a star on her forehead, just like Ronga. Her bluish fur is identical to Ronga as well, almost as if it's the same wolf. Maybe they're twins. Nope, Ronga never mentioned of him having a sibling. Let's see. A girl. Storm. Fang. I decided to name her Satsuka, a Japanese kanji for storm, hurricane, gale and such. I think she's the only girl in the clan, which is fairly obvious towards the others. She wagged her tail upon hearing her new name, which is cute. But I don't find it cute when she licked my face. Then, just like the situation with Rimuru, their turns are all finished in the blink of an eye. I only named them after what Great Sage thinks of. Just like that, the day continued like any other day. Idly waiting and praying that Rimuru is safe, the villagers ended the commotion and entered their respective huts and tents. Time skip. 3 days later. I'm recovered, Rimuru shouted, attracting the attention of the citizens nearby. I'm at a branch of a nearby tree, scouting the village since I have nothing to do. I got down alongside Satsuka on my side. She decided to stick with me, even calling me my master, without my consent. Oh, Kiyomaru, I'm trying to find you, he exclaimed as I stopped by on his little tent. I'm scouting. What's the matter? Well, who the heck are they? He asked, coy, NTING towards the man who reached over 2 meters. That's Rigurd. That's the elder who can't even walk without his cane. You gotta be kidding me. I have the same reaction. Well, not that I can blame him. It also surprised me the next day he got his name. He's always flexing his six-pack abs and his muscles on his arms. However, the one that surprised me the most is Ranga, who's now at least 15 feet. Such a large monster can even destroy a small nation by himself. He's beside Rimuru, wagging his tail on his back, creating a strong wind or more like a hurricane that destroyed some stuff on its way. I explained to him what happened in the previous days. About the difference between named and nameless monsters, evolutions of the named and the difference in magical and manpower. He male goblins evolved into hobgoblins while the female goblins into goblinas, increasing their lifespan and their features similar to humans. Much muscular bodies and feminine bodies. The dire wolves, on the other hand, got evolved into tempest wolves, increasing their sizes and changing their fur colors to black. Well, Satsuka and Ranga still has their blue and white fur, but a horn sprout on air forehead right in the center of the star. They can also change their size upon their will from a normal size of a direwolf to a much larger one, nearly reaching 15 feet. Ranga stated that it's fine to only name him since as a leader, he and his brethren are connected and that his name is the name of the clan, but I still insisted. Satsuka, on the other hand, is different. Since she's not a brethren of Ranga, and is more like a different wolf, needs a different name. But strange, she and Ranga is the same type of species, and yet she's different. I don't get the logic behind it. Earning the blessing that Veldora gave me. They're all so much powerful than before. I see, looks like I missed some things. He mumbled. It's not just some. You missed a lot of things and most of them are problems. Problems. First of all, foods, well, it's not that big of a problem but it still is a problem. Second, clothing. The goblins evolved into muscular ones, the females need decent wares to protect their dignity. Last, shelter. The partnership ended up in a good way since they're sharing their tents and huts as one. But it'll become a problem in the future if they ever find their own spouses. Rimuru only stared at me with sweats on his cheeks, as if he doesn't himself to solve it. Anyway, it's not the right time to kill the mood, come with me. He only tilted his head in confusion, as if saying, where to? But nevertheless, he still did followed me. Then, a huge pile of foods is in front of us. A celebration for his recovery, that's the occasion. A shallow yet understandable reason. Eat. Well, not that it will taste anything but for formality's sake, eat the foods. It seems like he's in the idea of eating it, but he still has suspicion spreading all over his face. How the heck did they got this? He shouted particularly to no one. Well, hunting, of course. The goblins can now use though communication on their partner wolves as well, so it's a lot easier than before. Ah, I see. With that, the festival or more like, the party started with Rigurd as some sort of mick, saying things like, for the recovery of our great Rimuru-sama, cheers. Or something. The NIG-HT ended with a loud bang for their evolution for winning the battle, and most of all, for Rimuru's recovery. Time skip. The next day. It's midday when we called for a quick meeting for all of the citizens. Well, Rimuru did so. I don't have any clue about what this is for. Rigurd eyed me with curiosity, asking me by his eyes alone. Don't know, I said, when all of the elderly who has trouble walking and the kids are here. Everyone is here, right? Good, I have some rules to give you all. For the sake of our village and us. 3 rules, nothing less than that. But I'm willing to compromise. Then, Rimuru stated his 3 standards. Do not attack humans. Do not fight among yourselves. Do not look down upon other species. Why aren't we allowed to attack humans? Rigurd asked. Besides me. Simple. Because we like humans. By we, does he include me too? That's an understatement. Understandable. Have a good day. But some of them have a dissent look on their faces. Rimuru, give your whole explanation. I stated by my eyes towards him. He seems to get me, as he only nodded. Human lives in group. If you ever attack any of them, they will surely retaliate. I hate conflicts like that, so don't go taunting them. Understand? Understandable. Have a good day. That's the second time he said that, but it's good that they got his point. But he only like humans because he's a former one, does he? Well, not like he can say that. One more thing. What do you mean by, do not look down on other species? You guys are evolved monsters. But don't get too full of yourself. Do not underestimate someone just because you are strong. They seems to be listening carefully and nodding when they got the point. A usual routine on a typical speech like this one. Also, Rigurd, I appoint you as the Goblin Lord. It is your job to maintain the peace and keep the village well governed. Rimuru, not wanting to solve the problem by himself, gave Rigurd an important position since he looks trustworthy. I'm sure he appointed Rigurd as the maintainer of peace so that he can freely leave the village as for collecting intel. Why yes, Rimuru-sama. I'll devote myself in protecting our village. I can say, never-ending tears flowing from his eyes, he must be really happy, huh? Now that this matter is solved, the main problem is now in hand. Clothing and buildings, houses and establishments. We lack the most important thing that a village needs. Rigurd said that they get their current outfits from trading materials to clothes from dwarf species residing in the dwarves' kingdom. They're bigger now than their previous builds. We need to maintain formalities and dignity. So we need to solve this as soon as possible. Rigurd, can you make arrangements for me and Kiyomaru? I'll visit them myself, he said, lumping me again with him without my consent. Of course, I'll have everything you need for tomorrow ready by the afternoon. He seems to be enthusiastic by this. It's good that we can preserve the currency that we have right now. It's a necessary piece in expanding territory sooner or later. But one thing bugging me is the discrimination the goblins get from the kingdom. They seems to be against the idea of them entering their territory. I wonder why. They also have a king that governs the kingdom. It is said that he is a powerful swordsman. He must be intimidating then. Hopefully. With that, another day has ended in the village of the goblins in the middle of the forest. Kiyomaru Pav, Rigurd being a man of his words, got everything ready this afternoon. He said it takes 2 months to arrive on Dwarven Kingdom in Goblin Foot. Considering the foods needed lane the journey, they surely need to rely on the supplies of the forest. But now that we got the Tempest Wolves on our side, it now only takes a week to travel. At first, Rimuru planned to visit the said kingdom by himself, but some incident happened. Are you really not going? I asked. Rimuru is there, sitting on a red pillow with a concerned look on his face. But a trace of blush can be seen on his cheeks. As much as I'd like to go in a paradise full of elves, the goblin scouts found out mercenaries with strong bodyguards. I can't leave the village with you. Even after considering the strength of the wolves and the new evolved goblins, Rimuru still wants to protect the village. Rigurd is also here, which is a lot stronger than a regular ones, but maybe he wants to stay just to be sure. I don't really have any problems with only me going, but I'm not sure about the chances of meeting the king. Who knows what kind of incident may happen? I see. Then, I'll be going now. I hopped into Satsuka's back, who seems to be happy about it. I tied myself into a sticky thread just to be safe since there's a chance of falling. It's hard to handle situations like this without any hands. I mumbled with a sigh. Me, a few more goblins, and their partner wolves started our travel into the Dwarven Kingdom. Gobta, who got into the kingdom once, took the lead as we followed behind him. We'll follow one of the 3 available routes, which is tracing the Great Emeld rivers northward. I had a map die in my head just in the case of losing our sense of direction. We've been going for 3 hours now without a break, but really, these wolves are fast. At this pace, I'm sure we'll arrive there faster than the estimated time. But, despite being transported in another world, I'm still awkward about initiating conversations in complete silence. Rigyur, I called his name in the front. Yes, Kiyomaru-sama, he asked as he slightly turned his head to me. I want to ask who named your brother the previous guardian of the village. Ah, yes, I'm glad you asked. He told me the story about his elder brother, whom he looked up the most. Rigyur is still a child a decade ago, so it's normal if he already forgot about some things. A passerby magic-born races named Gelmud claimed that he can see something on his brother. This Gelmud said that he'll take his brother on a journey, but since his brother is still a child back then, he said he'll return in a few years after he got stronger. Gelmud, however, is leading a demon horde capable of destroying nations. I have doubts upon hearing this. My brother surely evolved into a named monster, but it's nothing compared to us. He said while scratching his nape. Really, the goblins around us nod in agreement. At first, I only mean to initiate a conversation so that, even by little, lift the awkward silence in the travel. But I ended up getting a handful of information. Naming a monster will evolve them still in the same race, but a more powerful kind than a nameless one. For example, goblins turned into hobgoblins and goblinas, but the Y still retained their race as a goblin. They didn't leave astray from their race like turning into a wolf themselves. And lastly, the power that they will acquire on their evolution rely on the one who named them. Which means, if a person with strong magical named a monster, their power will be stronger than a regular named monster. So no wonder I can sense strong magicals from Satsuka and Ronga. Rigurd as well is strong, but the difference in strength can be seen in plain sight. Satsuka, don't push yourself too hard, I said by using thought communication. Thank you for the concern, Master. Do not worry about me, she replied before letting out a growl. The place where we're going to Dwarven Kingdom, also known as Armed Nation of Dwargen, is currently being led by the current King Gazel Dwargo. He's the third in the line, and also the grandson of the first in the throne, which is a hero. Gazel Dwargo is also a heroic king himself, which made the older citizens remind them of his grandfather Gurin Dwargo. It had been 1,000 years after the foundation of the kingdom. Since then, his descendants have maintained the peace of the kingdom. Their military defense and army is to consider as well. It is said that never once the kingdom lost on a war or a battle. Merchants also go through this kingdom to either sell their stuffs or trade them. This place is, in short, will be dangerous for our small village if we ever got into their nerves. I'd like to avoid that if possible. They will also prove to be a nuisance in the future if we ever didn't get into an agreement. To turn things around, getting into their good side will prove to be useful. Given at our pace, I'm sure we'll arrive tomorrow morning, Gobta stated. Time skip. Exactly 3 days after we left the village, we arrived at the grassland on the foot of the Canots Mountain. There, chiseled into the vast mountain cavern, the beautiful city can be seen like a natural fortress created by nature. We got in line dedicated to the travelers. Below the gigantic gates, 2 small entryways are available to cross. The one on the right is the only available one. Maybe the other one are for the nobles. Guards can be seen checking the stuffs of merchants and other people crossing the gate. Their security really is tight, but once you got inside, you can freely do whatever you want. But of course, you still need to follow their government rules. Oh, look, a monster is here. Dud, we can kill him, right? We're not inside yet, right? An adventurer behind us, equipped in rusted armor, said on his friend next to him. Yeah, you little runt. Give us your spot or else we'll kill you. I turned my gaze away in the front to the adventurers shouting at us. There's only the 4 of us here, me, Satsuka, Gobta and his partner Wolf. Rigur wants to come with us, which I successfully turned him down. The scout camping in the forest outside of the kingdom needs a person with good leading skills. Rigur has it. Satsuka can be seen angry at them, but I made her calm down. I attracted too much attention now from the people in front of me because of this low lives. I can't stand this. I really don't like attracting too much attention to me. Gobta, I said in my cold tone, which made him nervous. Why yes, Kiyomaru-sama. Did you run into any troubles the last time you were here? I asked. Of course, I did, Kiyomaru-sama. Ooh, they beat me so much. The kobold merchants had to pick me off the ground. Might have died if they didn't. They did, huh, so we can't avoid this. It's, the fate of the weak. Is it really necessary? Just look at this people, I can see sweats on their cheeks just by hearing my tone. They stand their ground, though, which impressed me. Gobta, remember the rules Rimuru gave you. Close your eyes, cover your ears and don't peek. Understand? I ordered. Why yes, Kiyomaru-sama. After he did what I told him to do so, I followed my line of sight to the adventurers. I'm not in the mood right now. Get lost, I said, revealing my intimidating aura to them, which also scared the audience we attracted. Just like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. A look around to see that there's a total of 5 of them. 1 with a staff, 1 with a light armor and a dagger, 1 which seems to be a healer, and the both of them who pick up the fight. Their wide grin are nowhere to be seen. Jew. Saint, some pathetic creatures who doesn't understand the strength difference between us. WWW, who do you think you are? I'll kill you, he shouted in anger. Wow, that made me scared. What an intimidating fellow. A lie. The entity Kiyomaru Tempest. Don't you know what a sarcasm is, great sage? Report. Sarcasm is. Alright, I don't need someone to explain it to me. I said get lost. Don't order me around, ya bastard. Kill him, he shouted to his other party member. Then, a barrage of fire and ice comes shooting directly at me. Did I really piss them off that much? Resorting into a Barrage of weak magic won't really hurt me though. I let them hit me as a huge smokescreen covered my place. Third person POV. A wide grin appeared on the face of the swordsman. The same goes to the oath. Part members as they thought that they eliminated the said creature. Ha, all bark no bite. I knew that bastard is weak. He shouted. You said it. A talking slime is rare, aight. Let's sell him and we'll get a few dozens of money. The mage who shoot the slime replied. Idiot, you just annihilated him. How can we sell him if he's no more? Ha ha ha, sorry, my bad. The party burst into laughter. Feelings as thought they attained a great achievement by killing a slime. Little by little, the smoke slightly disappeared as a silhouette of a large monster can be seen before the smoke finally lifted. LL look, there's someone in there, the mage shouted as he pointed at the creature. They turned their gaze into the place, just to see a huge wolf with a horn and star on its forehead. It let out an intimidating growl to the party. You gotta be kidding me. The swordsman shouted in disbelief. Kiyomaru POV. I let Satsuka do what she wants, and that is to return the favor of trying to hit me. She turned her size into a giant tempest wolf. If we ever get caught, I'll just let her hide in my shadow by using one of the tempest wolf's skill, shadow motion. It lets the wolf hide in the shadow of their partner. It's good for letting them rest and hiding them from enemies for surprise attacks. Currently, only a few number of partners can do it, namely me and Satsuka, Rimuru and Ronga. Gopta is still trying to master it, but he can do it on some occasions. Be easy to them, avoid ravaging their flesh, scaring them away will be sufficient enough. I said, you got it, master. She replied. Suddenly, the swordsman got into an offensive stance and started charging at Satsuka. Windbreaker slash, he shouted. Looks like a sword skill, as his blade started glowing green, but in the end, it didn't do anything. Just by hitting Satsuka's hide, his silver blade snapped into two. Damn it, this is a silver blade dud. But silver is weak, though. At least try to remember that much. The one who seems to be an assassin throwed 3 daggers at Satsuka. And just like the last time, it didn't do anything. This cycle continued for 2 straight minutes, bombarding Satsuka with skills and magic but weak enough to cause any scratches. You sure you're okay? I asked her. Yes, master. These attacks are nothing to me. Upon hearing her response, my magic sense skill picked up 2 guards coming our way. Seems like they already made their move upon hearing the commotion outside. It will be troublesome if this continues. Giving me a hard time just after I arrived here, really. I ended up sighing in my mind. Satsuka, finish this now. Quote, understood. She let out a roar as she got into a stance that looks like she'll go right through them. It's just a fake though. I don't need blood covering this dirt road. The adventurers started running away in fear, throwing their stuffs and anything that deemed to be a nuisance to them. What a bunch of cowards. But, as a party though, they're well balla. NCED team unlike the other ones that I saw on this line. But the problem is that they're weak, and they picked up the wrong enemy. Satsuka reverted into her normal size, then she hid in my shadow to hide from the guards and regain her strength as well. Gopta upon opening their eyes, saw that the adventurers are nowhere to be found anymore. He sighed in relief. But, now that this ended, a much more problematic situation is coming our way. And that is, I'm terribly sorry. Gopta shouted as he bowed deeply, at least that's what he intended to inside the guardhouse. I sigh yet again inside my head. Just how many misfortunes will I face in the future? Kiyomaru POV. After the incident with those adventurers, we got escorted by 2 guards towards the guard office. They questioned us about the commotion outside, the wolf incident, and the casualties that we made, which is creating a crater in the ground. I made Gopta explained his script. A reserve writing skills made by me. Great Sage did it, of course, not me. I only told him about what to say next, and what kind of facial expression to use. Nevertheless, even if there's no human casualties and bloods accumulated, just the fact that we ate a commotion is enough reason for them to lock us up on a cell. Luckily, Gopta and me are in the same cell. The rails aren't really that thick, so I can just go past this one. But the moment I do so, I'm sure the guards will notice it. And I'll be an enemy of this whole kingdom. That'll be problematic. I already have a plan in mind. But it needs to wait. I can just sit back and relax as I wait for the right moment. But if ever anything unexpected happens, I'm sure it will end up being favorable to us. Nevertheless, this are all but a quick plan. So, if we're one step late, this whole thing will crumble apart. As I got deep in my thoughts, a commotion can be heard outside of the cell. A soldier suddenly burst open the door with a slam. Sir. An Armosaurus just showed up in the mines. It already injured several miners in their post. The soldier said in a panic. What? Did you defeat it? He replied. We're good there. A suppression force is on its way. But some of the miners are fairly roughed up. I don't know if there's a war underway or something, but the city shops are out of medicine, and the castle won't let us access their stockpile. What about our healers? That's the thing. So the injured were deep inside, mining magic ore. The healers at the guardhouse are all out handling other calls, so all we have left is a single novice. Ah, damn it all. They quick L.Y. exchanged information regarding the matter. They cannot do anything, and they're frustrated about it. This is a favorable situation to me. I have a few potions with me, after all. I silently took out a few potions from my stomach. Then signaled Gobta to take it from me. He grabbed the potions and hid it on his pockets. I nodded as a cue them he called the guards. Sir. What? I'm busy here. You're not off the hook yet. So stay here until the commotion is down, understand? Actually, Gobta slid a potion on his pocket then showed it to the guards. What's that? Why are you with a potion like that? He asked. Actually, this potion are made by my master here. He wants me to give it to you. You may call it as a compensation for creating a ruckus. I only nodded as he looked at me with suspicions. Of course, no one can't really blame him. After all, how could a mere slime create a potion himself without any hands nor knowledge about it? And actually, when I said nod, I just made an up and down motion with my whole body. Did he interpret it the way I wanted him to? Anyway, at first, the soldier who reported the situation have doubts about this. Of course, monsters cannot be trusted. That same logic will be passed down on every humans. And in their eyes, I cannot speak. So I made Gobta my middleman. A weak slime is the monster of an evolved hobgoblin. Suspicious. But, considering how grave the situation is, the guards still picked it up from Gobta. I made a bunch of them, actually, so I requested a barrel to fill it with the potions. Then, in a matter of seconds, they burst out of the cell and proceeded to handle the situation. Time skip. Gobta fell asleep after waiting for an hour or two. Since there's no bed or futon to sleep to, his sleep isn't really that great. After a few minutes or so, the captain opened the door alongside a bunch of miners behind him. As I predicted, if this works, I'll have the upper hand. This is great, thank you very much, or so the captain said with a bow. Followed by the miners. You're the one who created the potions. Thank you, sir. My arms was pretty torn up. I thought I can never work again. I'm grateful. The last one didn't said anything, but only nodded. They proceeded to leave after giving their thanks to me. I let out an internal sigh. Good. So far so good. This is going according to my plan. Now that this matter is solved, the captain got back to the main problem, our detention. Of course, I wouldn't really mind being detained overnight, but my problem is the scout outside of the kingdom. I don't know where they are camping. But since Rimuru is there, I'm sure they'll be fine. If my overnight stay here gets longer, I need to solve this problem myself. However, that's for my last resort. Another thing is that the adventurers who pick the fight up turns out to be members of this kingdom's free guild. They have the talent and potential, but their rubbish personality gets in the way. Anyway, we are proved to be not guilty. But the detention wouldn't be overcome unless it's followed. Well, I guess that's it. By the time Gobta woke up from his sleep, the captain checked the time as soon as they wrapped up from training. Alright, you're free to go. Sorry for keeping you locked here overnight. Since Gobta asked for another cell to sleep, with a bed of course, I cannot rely on him to talk in this situation. Addition to the fact that he just woke up a few minutes ago. I'm sure he's still sleepy. No, it's fine. In the end, I decided to talk. Why you can talk? What? Why the sudden reaction? Oh, now that I remember it, those adventurers said that talking slimes are rare, and that we costs a handful of money if sold in the market. Yeah, is there a problem? N number, I'm just surprised. Then why are you using that goblin as a middleman? He asked, pointing his finger at Gobta, who doesn't know what we're talking about. Nothing really. You can say that it's his job. Alright, whatever. Let me make it up to you. I'll bring you to a talented blacksmith I know. He said. I wonder why I have a bad feeling about this. Feels like there's something he needs deep within his words. What's the catch? Ho ho. You knew, Let's say that I want some potions of yours. Even a single barrel is fine. A single barrel? That kind of amount doesn't weigh too much. This proposal only favors me. But, let's see, I refuse. I don't have any reasons to give it to you. Besides, since I'm free now, I can just explore the kingdom and find this so-called talented blacksmith of yours, am I right? This is a scam. Of course, it's not. The potion can be reproduced inside my body for how much I want it. It won't hurt me if I give a single barrel. But what I want is something more than that. A psychological warfare. Let's see if I can gain more than what he offered. And his next moves will be, oh come on, you lied to us all this time, making us believe that you can't talk. Can't you just give it to me as a compensation? Bingo. Compensation. Isn't the barrel of potion I gave to you earlier enough? The potion healed your men. I think the difference in favor is in plain sight, wouldn't you say so, Captain? The captain let out an astonished laugh. He knew that he cannot win. But, I wouldn't really mind giving it to him. Actually, I want to give it to him. Since if he ever sold this to the market, a bunch of merchants will go to the source. Namely, me and Rimuru. And if they ever buy this to us, I'll raise the profit. And a new business will rise. I'm just kidding. I'll give you 5 barrels. In exchange, you'll bring me to this blacksmith, is that right? Ha ha ha, and here I thought I failed. Very well, I'll give you 5 gold pieces per barrel. 5 pieces of gold, I don't even know how currency works in this world. No need, but in exchange, I'd like you to explain to me the worth of money here. Is that so? You got it. The captain prepared us foods, especially sweets. As he explained to me the different kind of money used around here. Time skip again. We're on our way towards this blacksmith the captain said to be talented. I have my doubts, so I need to ascertain if he really has the ability to be one. I wandered my eyes around the kingdom. This actually looks like the cave where Veldora is sealed, but the buildings and crystals up in the roof, making a light. Looks so natural. It's as if the nature itself built this kingdom. Rimuru will probably like this. His childish personality says so. Especially the elves. That perverted salary worker will be in heaven if he ever got into this kingdom. Then, in my sight, I saw a wooden blacksmith shop with a sign that I cannot read. The characters is much more complex than kanji. Even though I already knew all the languages existing in my previous world, this is completely different. The captain opened the door of the said shop. As I entered the place, a warm and cozy feeling enveloped my body. Hello, excuse us, I said as I scooted behind the captain. The moment we entered inside, several gazes fell on us. Ah, or so they said, raising an eyebrow upon seeing me. It's those 3 miners who thanked me by saving them. Though it's not me who saved them but the potion that I made. Way do you want? You know these guys. The guy in the back said. Kaijin, this is it, the slime who saved us. The man in the back named Kaijin widened his eyes and let out a laugh. Yeah, it is. And you are our boss's brother, aren't you, Captain? Apparently, the captain is named Kaido. I did, and T knew about it despite talking to him for a long time. He didn't answer, but let out a sigh. You are, Thank you for saving this fella's butts. Boss, he can't talk. Before I let him finish, I decided to butt in. It's nothing worth mentioning, I replied. Hey, you said he can't talk. What the hell? But, yesterday, he didn't. I'm just not in the mood to talk. Kaijin burst into laughter, and his brother Kaido only giggled a bit. Now that I look at it, Kaido looked younger than Kaijin. So maybe he's the little brother. So, what brings you here? Kaido got into the full details and explained to Kaijin what I need. Of course, at some point, I butted in to add things up. Anyway, the smooth explanation of Kaido ended as Kaijin still have doubts in his mind. I got your point. So, what do you need? I have my hands full right now. See, I'm making 20 crappy swords. And I haven't even started yet because I lack materials. Turns out that he pulled out an all-nighter just to finish 200 ordered spears. And a certain minister named Vesta requested for 20 swords. He didn't deny the request. No, he can't decline the request. Seems like this Vesta is a cunning person. He requested Kaijin's presence to the king. And spouted a lot of nonsense that if he ever declined the order, Kaijin's pride will surely crumble down. Didn't you just said that you already created 200 spears? How does it differ to a sword? I asked. I need to use magic ores for the sword. The spears are just plain silver. Without the right materials to work with, even a master artisan is merely a man. It must have been incredibly frustrating. The minister must have been waiting for him to show up, hat in hand, begging for mercy. And that's not the half of it. It takes a full day to complete even one of those swords. Even if I built an assembly line and streamlined everything I could, it'd still take me 2 weeks to make 20. I thought to ask about the deadline but stopped. I could read the answer in his face anyway. I have until the end of this week. He groaned. First thing next week, I'm in charge with delivering them to the king. It's a task for the kingdom, and every shop has been asked to do the same. If I can't, they could strip my artisan's license from me. So 5 days left, it sounded like. And it seemed doubtful that much work would happen today, so basically. Magic ores, those glowing crystals in the cave Veldora is sealed to turns out to be extremely important for a blacksmith like him. But still, even if I gave him the materials that he needs, it won't really change the outcome. Why? Because there's just one of him here who knows how to craft the sword. If only another person who has the same ability as him scratch that. If only another person knows how to create a sword. Then they can just split the work. And those 2 weeks he needed will be halved. But, if that person even existed, I'm sure she is also doing its quota. Now, then, what to do? Should I give him a hand? Or should I just leave the problem unsettled? Kiyomaru Pav. Problems won't really solve itself if it's left alone. No matter how much help you ask to someone else's, in the end, you'll end up solving the problem yourself. In Kaijin's case, it is totally different. He doesn't have anyone to rely his problems on. Being an artisan himself, the task given to him by T.S. Vesta person needs to be done next week. Due to the lack of magic ores here in the kingdom, blacksmiths here and there all over the place, including Kaijin, cannot do a single sword. Kaijin has his own theory though. He thinks that Vesta planned this all along, that he bought all of the magic ores and hid it in the kingdom's supplies. Regular townspeople cannot access this, unless the kingdom's position is in danger. The swords are needed by a stupid kingdom, in their war. It doesn't have anything to do with the Dworgans, but the request is accepted by the king himself. And that theory is he most accurate and acceptable one in this situation. Vesta is said to hold a deep grudge or more like jealousy to Kaijin. Why? Because the king Gazel Dwargo paid his attention on Kaijin's abilities. Oh much that he forgot about his minister. He even invited him to the palace, but Kaijin humbly turned him down. I only have a rough grasp on this conflict, but the more information I get, the faster I can solve this problem, even on my own. Though, that's what I'm going to say back in my previous world, but this world isn't really similar back there. I digested out pure and natural magic ores. The entire piece is magisteel of course. I won't give some low-budget materials on someone. Well, not anymore. Kaijin looked at it, and his mouth opened in surprise. Of course, the same can be said on the three brothers. Kaido seems to be used to my surprises though, so it seems. Give and take, Kaijin. Make the sword, right here, right now. If you can do that much, we both have favors. Is that fine? He seems perplexed about what I said or more like his decision. If a person with ability doubts his self without doing something firsthand, then the outcome will surely head the way he thinks it will be. A massive failure. Oh of course. Normally, it'll take a day to finish this, but considering the purity of this I'll do it. He exclaimed. I only nodded and left the shop. Where are you going? Kaido asked me while he turned his gaze at the door. Somewhere. Thankfully, Kaido left the door opened. Considering my height in this form, I need to jump and turn the knob with my body. That'll be troublesome. Anyway, I need to gather as much information as possible while I still have my free time. I need to make my move today, so that the plan will be played out by the time Kaijin finishes his job. I gotta go initiate and contact him. With that in mind, I proceeded to left the shop and find the said person. It only took me a few hours or 1 hour, 32 minutes and 17 seconds to complete my deal with him. Of course, I needed to add lies here and there. But overall, the negotiations ended up favoring me. As I re-entered the place, Kaido seems to already left the shop an hour ago, as the three brothers said. By the time that I entered deep in the workplace, Kaijin already finished the sword and showed it in front of me. He swung it a few times, which looks really dumb, and laid it out on the floor. Can you guys leave me for a few minutes? You did your favor to me, let me do the favor this time. Alright, but are you sure you don't need my help? No, I can handle this. Kaijin let out a sigh, and signaled the other three-person behind him to leave the place. As he closed the door, I calmly analyzed and inspected the overall appearance of the sword. He didn't really pend the whole chunk of magisteel I gave him as it is still beside the furnace. And here I thought that it's only enough for a single sword. It doesn't really glow, not like the pure magisteel. But from my sight, it actually looks pretty strong and cool. The soldiers holding this will actually enjoy the sight of this weapon. Now then, eating isn't really the right term to use. I swallowed up the sword before the materials he used. Which is the magisteel I provided. Great sage, if you would. Notice. Analysis target, longsword, successful. Creating copy successful. Closing square bracket. The process repeated for 19 more times. And by the time I finished the 20 swords, the 4 dwarves entered the shop with a worried and perplexed face. What happened here? What the heck is that? Kaijin said as he inspected the other 19 swords on the floor. Just some magic that you won't understand. Holy shit, these swords are much better than the one I did. Really, I thought that it's nothing more than a simple flattery. If an expert blacksmith said that, then that must be true. What a great skill I acquired from being a slime. Then, as a thank you for finishing my job in my stead, let me treat you to a dinner. All on me. Yep, it is definitely flattery, but now that this matter is solved, the plan will now commence. Good, so far so good. I'm actually thankful that Rimuru didn't go with me. If he ever came along, I need to adjust the cruelty of my plans. Let us say more mild. Who knows? Anyway, where the heck is Gobta again? Time skip. Kaijin safely bring the swords directly to the king himself. Of course, I can just make a copy of it again if ever a certain someone tried to sabotage the delivery. Welp, all well ends well. Cheers, the 3 brothers and Kaijin said in unison. We somehow end up partying in some sort of nightclub in the town. Well, not that it bothers me, but back in my previous world, I'm just 16 years old, a high school student. I think I'm only allowed to enter such place at 18 years old, right? Well, not I can do so anyway. Kaijin definitely needs a peace of mind, so I let them do as they please. But going to a nightclub is a bit too. We moved further and further inside into the town, and we ended up in a place called Night Butterfly. Kaijin first entered, and as soon as I followed them, beautiful elves showed up and started ogling me with their monstrous big boing boing. So this is what Rimuru wants. No, mister. Slime is mine, an elf said and started pulling me from the other. I refuse. You will do something indecent to him. To no avail, the other one also pulled me back. They started fighting over me that I ended up stretching my body with sweats on my cheeks. This isn't good. If I can just make a clone of myself and make multiple me's, then this problem will be long solved. But this isn't bad at all. It actually feels nice. Their soft and silky skin touching my body, their clothes that is so thin that you can almost see their ehem, nope. I almost sounded like Ike back there. I gotta stop fantasizing. As I laid back down and relax on the big chest behind me, the door slammed open and 2 figures sat on a bar stool in front of the manager. The person that catches my eye is the 30-year-old looking dwarf, but his size is those of a human. Clearly not a small figure like Kaijin. He is wearing a glasses with a prideful look on his face. Eared in a lab attire consisting of a formal suit with necktie and a white lab coat. And as soon as he noticed us, he narrowed his eyes and darted his gaze to me, as if disgusted by my whole existence. It is actually quite creepy that this guy can do that. A smirk formed on his face as he stood up and looked at the older female manager. Boss, you guys are allowing monsters to visit such a high-class establishment these days. He said. The boss, the female manager behind the bartender station, looked at him with an annoyance. I mean, he's just a slime, sir. What's wrong with it? Her voice tried to calm the person down. But it looks ineffective. It's still a monster. Are you telling me that slimes are exceptions? No, sir, but the person didn't seem to be paying any more attention to what the manager is about to say. He is clearly after us, or more like me. Oh, no, it's Vesta, the minister. The man known as Vesta stood up with a glass of water on his hand. I already anticipate the cheap provocation he is going to do to me, but I didn't bother fighting back. Since I don't bother myself, such a pathetic creature. You know what's best suit for monsters? This. Yep, as I expected. He poured down the water in my body as it fell down on my face. I only sighed in this. This is so dumb that I didn't expect him to be a government minister. Hey, you think you can just pick up on my guest like that? Huh, Vesta, you think? I appreciate Kaijin getting angry at my stead, but fighting someone in a higher ranking like him wouldn't end up good. I really appreciate it if he stop. Vesta, intimidated by a person smaller than him, backed down a step as his mischievous smirk disappeared. The elf holding me below her boing boing got a handkerchief and brushed off the water from me and smiled. Even though there's nothing to rise, I'm afraid that something is rising. I shouldn't let a certain someone take over me. How dare you speak to me like that? You, just shut up already. Kaijin throwed a punch right on Vesta's cheeks. Despite his small appearance, he is actually quite good built himself. Compared to the slim body of Vesta, who spent all of his time in a laboratory, the punch is actually powerful. Hey, Kiyomaru, you said that you're looking for someone to help you, right? Am I enough, maybe? Kaijin asked me a few minutes later. I mean, when it comes to overall ability, I can certainly say that Kaijin is great as an artisan. But doing all the handiworks, crafting weapons, armors and clothes and building houses and establishments as well. He will burn himself to death. But, our village is still small, so it's fine, right? If you are okay on aging up 30 years, then I see no reason to refuse. It would be, we could hammer out the details later. If Kaijin was willing to come over, I was more than willing to invite him. We didn't need no fancy contract. Kaijin and I sealed the deal with an emphatic nod. Just one thing, how were we gonna book it out of here? Maybe a little prudence wasn't such a bad idea after all. You create a lot of problems for yourself otherwise. All the bravado in the world wasn't going to solve them, was it? Kiyomaru paused. The commotion smoothly, but tensely ended up when Kaido and his other men arrived at the club. Just as anyone can see, punching a government minister and putting him in his place by that method will lead to serious problems. My brother, how foolish you have become, Kaido said with a sigh. Not that anyone can blame him. It really is foolish to lay your hand on a person with higher authority. Vesta, while on the ground, looked at Kaijin with a mixed of annoyed and shocked look. He thought that Kaijin didn't have the guts to punch him. Yet, he did. His nose is bleeding as he holds his cheeks. That fool, Kaijin exclaimed as the 4 guards forced him out of the bar. He dared to humiliate my patron, Kiyomaru. Of course, I will get angry. He pointed out his finger at Vesta. Once they finally left the bar, along with the 3 brothers, before I followed them, I placed 5 gold coins in the counter where the manager is wiping a wine glass. She looked at me with a concerned look, as I only gave her a nod. Sorry for the trouble, and it's a pleasure to make business with you. I emphasized the word business without any intentions. Of course, she already got what I meant. No problem. She finally gave me a wide smile as I waved the elves goodbye. The place is actually quite decent in its own way. The pleasure service they give to their customers is completely professional. They doesn't seem to mind if some customers are a bit too much. But all like it better if they retaliate on such occurrences. With that, Kaido and his men took us in the Royal Palace jail room, the place where we are going to meet the King Gazel Dwargo for the hearing. But before I come to that place, I need to make the second phase of my plan. I sneakily left the group and made sure that no one caught me in the scene. I returned back to the place where the incident happened. Night Butterfly. I looked inside by the window. There, Vesta is still bleeding, but he seems to be alright as shown by the wide grin on his face. Satsuka, I called her in my shadow. Yes, master, she asked. I explained to you the plan, right? You know what I'm going to do. If you think you can't handle it, feel free to leave my shadow for now and wander the kingdom. I do not wish for my own partner to witness my own cruelty. If simple things like this will bring her to hate me, then that's that. But as much as possible, I want for her to avoid seeing me in this personality. There's no problem, master. I fully devote myself to serve and assist you. Such a thing like this isn't enough for me to hate you, she said and let out a delighted growl. If that's her decision, then there's no place for me to question her. All I know is that, I'm happy to hear such a thing from her. Looks like I can trust Satsuka. Now then, letting out a sight sigh, black mist started to cover my whole body up to a certain height above me. It isn't really that much tall. Once the transformation is complete, I took a low okay at myself in which I only sighed in my appearance. What the heck is this? My appearance certainly looks like Gobda, but I'm still not smiling. And here I thought that it's included in the package. But thankfully, it's not. Why? Because Gobda looks like a pervert when he smiles or more like grin. It can't be helped. I need to bear with this, for now. I do not want to stay in this look for any longer, it makes me want to puke. If only it isn't necessary, I wouldn't have done so. Oh, and if you're wondering about where Gobda is, I only made a light punishment for him. Like, tying him in the ceiling upside down using sticky threads. I covered his mouth, of course, so that he can't shout for help. This is also training for him to call out his partner wolf on his shadow. If he wants to catch up to me and survive, he better get the hang of it in a week. I'm sure at that time, or maybe earlier than that, Kaijin and I will leave the kingdom and he will be left out. It's also given that he can survive for a week straight without any foods and water. Thanks to his evolution, he can now achieve such a feat. With that in mind, I proceeded to do my work as the person I'm waiting for left the bar. A not so long time skip. We spent 2 straight days in the jail room of the Royal Palace. It definitely doesn't look like a jail room for me though. The 5 of us Kaijin, the 3 brothers and me shared the same cell. Sleeping isn't really a problem, as they gave us the same amount of futon. Foods aren't necessary in my current slime body. But, if we're going on that topic anyway, the foods they're giving to them is pretty decent. By the 2nd day of our stay here in jail, Kaijin finally opened up the problem with him and Vesta. The reason why Vesta hated his guts, or maybe because of envy that Vesta can do something bad to him. He used to be a captain of the palace's Royal Knight Corps, leader of one of the 7 armies of the kingdom. 3 corps were devoted to behind-the-scenes work like engineering, supply, and emergency aid. 3 more heavy strikers, and magic support played more of a starring role. The last one, and the most important, was the king's personal guard. Kaijin had been head of the engineering corps, and Vester had been his second in command. He was the son of a marquis, Kaijin moaned. A noble title he bought with money. I think he must have been jealous of a commoner like me taking the head role. It was complicated, you know. It must have been humiliating to him, taking orders from someone below him. And I'll admit that I didn't care much about what other people thought about me. I was too busy trying to stay on the king's good side. That's when it happened, the magic armor affair. At the time, the engineering corps was seen as the lowest of the army's 7 departments, barely producing any new technology for itself. Vester believed a kingdom rich in technology should have an appropriately famous corps of engineers, while Kaijin was more of a status quo man when it came to research and development. Despite how intense their arguments got, they never managed to reach an agreement during their countless garrison meetings. Along the way, the corps launched a so-called magic armor soldier project with a team of elf engineers. Vester was hell-bent on making this project a success and boosting the corps's position in the military pecking order. Kaijin warned him that he was proceeding too quickly with it, but even then, Vester had little time for the advice of a common-born man. In the end, thanks to Vester's arbitrary whims, an experiment went awry and led to a spirit magic corps running out of control, a very public failure and a bad setback for the project at an early stage. Thus, despite some of the greatest minds of the world working on it, the magic armor project ground to a halt. As head of the engineering corps, Kaijin wound up taking the heat for it, resigning from his position in the army. Not only did Vester make Kaijin the scapegoat, he even convinced his friends among the higher-ranked leaders to give false testimony against him. That, according to Kaijin at least, was the truth. But all this time, I already knew the truth. This is why I've managed to make this plan a success. The reason why Vesta danced in the palm of my hand. And the reason why his naive and childish thinking will put him in his place. Flashback. A few hours before the commotion in Night Butterfly, after instructing Kaijin to create the sword in only a few hours, I left the shop and proceeded to gather information about him. The townspeople said that Vesta always spent his time in his little laboratory, may it be break time or work. He loves to create magic items and such, or so they said. Only one way to find out. The area where his lab is located is restricted. It's deep inside the palace. The castle has a lot of guards near the entrance, patrolling and maintaining the cleanliness of the place. Therefore, the only thing I can do for now is to wait. I can just pass by them while lowering my magicule and hiding my presence, but a troublesome stalker of mine will surely do his work the moment I do so. I don't want to make the kingdom my enemy. At least for now. Just by seeing the economy of this place and the armors of this guards proves that they can annihilate a creature like me. The army is one thing. But I'd like to get to the king's good side, if possible. A few minutes or so have passed. Vesta left the palace by using the gates and turned left upon the small alley. Why? Because that's where he always get his food. My information network is broad, that's why it's always accurate. Anyway, with that in mind, I hid my presence without the knowledge of the person following me, and proceeded to follow after Vesta. Looks like I lost him. Just because you're following me and staring at me the whole time doesn't mean I can't get out from your sight. There's always a way to escape such a person. In fact, if the stalker is always staring at you, the stalking will be obvious. And the moment you lowered your guard in their sight, you can pinpoint their location. Ah, there's no point in talking to myself. Excuse me. He turned his head around behind his back. He looked around and upon seeing that no other person is there, he continued walking. I forgot that I'm just a small slime. Of course, he didn't thought that a slime will talk to him. Excuse me, can you spare me some minutes? With an annoyed expression, he yet again turned around and looked behind him. But this time, he looked down and saw my figure. He got shocked and slightly backed down a few steps. But upon realizing that I'm just a mere slime, his shock turned into a complete disgust. I don't have the time to give to a disgusting monster. Leave me alone or else I'll call the guards. He said and continued walking on his destination. By calling the guards, does he mean shouting? If that's the case, his head will be removed the moment he does so. I already laid down sticky threads in this particular alley, just by moving it a little, the threads will slice his body into pieces. But, if he ever pulled some magic items to contact them, then I'll only just destroy it. I need to make him experience fear, if necessary. Though, I'd like to avoid that since it's not part of the plan. There's only one way to make him stop. Kaijin, the blacksmith, he stiffened upon hearing my words. He looked back at me with a serious annoyed and off face, but instantly reverted it back. He needs to stay cool, that must be what he's thinking. Why do you know him? I don't plan to reveal my cards to him. The moment I do so, it's already my lost. Because this plan of mine will last for a month or so. I already anticipated problems heading in my way in the future. A friend of mine hates Kaijin as much as you do. Maybe you can collaborate and exile him from the kingdom, or if lucky, maybe execute him at that. Really, I can. I'm sure he's making his decision by now. Doubts here and there will surely rose up, but that doesn't matter. I already have one more thing to push him towards his own burial. I can't trust a monster like you. No matter how you look at it, it's not believable at all. Actually, it's just full of demerits for me. A normal person will surely believe his sentiment. Of course, why would they true? Saint monsters who has the ability to slaughter humans. That's plain wrong, but a diligent person will surely notice that his voice is weaker and isn't as strong as before. This means that he's doubting his own decision. He needs to analyze if I'm saying the truth or not. Really, but I knew where your hate is coming from. The reason you're envious of him. And it's not full of demerits. Vesta sir, you can just pull me down with you the moment you got caught, right? You can say that you got framed, or maybe blackmailed. You have a lot of influence in the nobles, so gaining their supports isn't an issue. Therefore, I can say that I'm the one who's in a dilemma here, not you. It's true though, I won't gain anything just by doing this. I can only get what I want to achieve in a few more months. This is nothing more than the start of the race. The moment that I started talking to him, my plan already succeeded. And Vesta will fully be a useful pawn in my disposal. So, what do you think? If you don't accept, he can just do it on his own. Watch on the sideline like what you're doing before, playing innocent and all. But I'm sure you won't be satisfied like that, am I right? I'm sure he already realized that I knew the full truth the whole situation. But I don't. This is just a way for me to push him to accept my proposal. I need to hear the whole situation from the person himself. He won't lie. I knew it. Because he's scared. Fine, but the moment this failed, you already knew what will happen to you, right? I nodded my head as a response. So, what's the plan? He leaned at his back on a wall and crossed his arms. He looked at me and signaled to talk. I already knew that Kaijin will complete the sword today, and by copying it, will make his job done in a day. I'm sure he will invite me to a dinner. Being grateful and all for providing assistance. That's just who he is, or so the people near him say. He's actually kinda famous himself. But the crucial part is, where will he bring me? Though, that's not actually kinda hard to guess. The manager of Night Butterfly and Kaijin are long friends and accomplices. And in fact, the bar itself is already known through their good drinks, foods and services. That's why he will treat me to a best meal possible. Vesta only needs to go there, and wait for us to arrive. After a few minutes, I will signal him to enter and order a drink. That's not necessary, but he needs to taunt Kaijin to punch him by humiliating me in front of him. I asked the manager of the club that a commotion will possibly happen. And that I asked for her to remain silent about it. It will be another trouble if one of the elves testified for us. That's unnecessary. End of flashback. All of that proceeded as smooth as possible. And here we are, sleeping in the cell. The futons are actually quite smooth and soft, though I'll appreciate it if they gave me some pillows, even though I don't need it. Anyway, tomorrow will be the day of the hearing. So might as well take a good rest. Kiyomoru Pav. Teriri Ichiban Sakai Kawaii. Oops, wrong line. The day of the hearing finally arrived. The lounge siren can be heard all over the place. Through our locked up, and not so big cell the sound vibrated on our ears. The guards opened up the steel bars and ordered us to follow them. They didn't bother tying them on a long chain. A mere handcuff is more than enough for Kaijin and the brothers. And as for me, they put a circled steel cuff on my body with a long chain that the guards hold. So basically, I'm being pulled by force. Though it doesn't hurt, this till looks weird no matter where you look at it. Anyway, we cannot even escape the palace in the first place, so putting a cuff on us is unnecessary. But, just to be sure, they did do so. It took us a handful of minutes before we arrived at what we saw, a long dark chamber. Torches hanging on the walls to create a dim light. A giant wooden door can be seen on the end of the tunnel, a bit smaller than the entrance of the kingdom. Slowly, the door opened as we saw the king sitting on his throne. 2 guards with heavy armors by his side. Councils of some sort, ministers and such can also be seen on both sides of the room. They eyed us with suspicions and hate, I wonder why. The king Gazel Dwargo closed his eyes, then rest his chin on his hands. His aura alone shows how strong he is. He tried intimidating me, but eyes like those won't affect me. If only I have the eyes of a person, I would have showed him firsthand his own fear. But, one thing that bothers me, is how he looks at Kaijin. Tender, yet harsh. Their connection and bonds can be seen on the air. Vesta arrived at the court on the same way we got here. Alongside his very lawyer, he looked at me with a mix of pity and anger on his eyes. Kaijin looked at him, and got shocked upon his figure. I mean, who wouldn't? Kaijin only punched him in the face, yet his whole body, arms covered in bandages, his face swollen in bruises. PLE won't even get shock if he got hospitalized for a month in that appearance. A man knelt in front of the king, checking over something with him. After receiving permission, he stood up and read the affidavit. We will now begin the trial. Silence, everyone. For the next hour, both sides presented their cases. As criminal suspects, we weren't allowed to speak in the royal court, that right was reserved for those with a rank of earl or greater. Otherwise, you needed the king's express permission. If you did speak out of turn, that apparently proved your guilt on the spot and earned you a bonus contempt of court charge. Whether you were innocent or not, that was the way this place worked. We were stuck having our representative speak for us. He had paid us a few visits during our 2 days in custody, discussing the nature of our case. Our kind of lawyer, basically. So there Sylvester was, he continued, sitting back at this club and enjoying an alcoholic beverage, when this gang had their way into the place and exposed him to dreadful violence. This is not the kind of behavior that should ever be forgiven. Is that the truth? It is, my liege. I heard it from Kaijin himself. And I also have written testimony from the owners of the club. There can be no mistaking the course of events that night. I shot a look at Kaijin, his face turned bright red, then slowly began draining of color. It went without saying that representatives for the accused weren't allowed to lie in court. If they were found out, that would be another hanging. My liege, Vester exclaimed, egging him on. You have heard it for yourself. I beg of you to deal with these miscreants harshly. He flashed us a smile of supreme confidence. The king remained motionless, eyes closed. In his place, one of the guards beside him spoke. Order. I will now give the verdict. Kaijin, the mastermind behind this crime, is sentenced to 20 years of labor in the mines. His accomplices are sentenced to 10 years of labor in the mines. With that, this court is hereby. Wait. A deep, quiet voice interrupted. It has been a while, Kaijin. Do you remain in good health? Yes, my liege, came the instant reply. Presumably he had the right to speak now. It gladdens me that you remain so as well. He continued. Yes. Now, do you and your friends, looking at us, have any desire to return to us? The audience in the royal court murmured among themselves. It must have been an unusual development. Vester immediately blanched. Our traitorous representative, meanwhile, had developed a deathly pallor. I beg your forgiveness, my liege. But I have already found a master to serve. I have made my vow, and it has become my treasure. A treasure so fine that, indeed, not even the direct order of my liege could make me part with it. This clearly angered the audience. I could see the guards staring daggers into Kaijin's forehead. But he stood strong, chest puffed out, the picture of dignity. The king, seeing this, closed his eyes again. I see. Quote, silence ruled for another moment. I have made my decision. Listen well to my sentence. Kaijin and his friends are hereby exiled from the kingdom. After midnight tonight, when the new day comes, they are officially no longer welcome in my lands. That is all. Be gone at once. Opening his eyes, the king made his proclamation in a loud voice. The dignity of a born leader. Sending powerful words through the court. It sent shivers down the spine of the people around me. Vesta has a clear look of defeat on his face. My liege, please listen to me. This Mons. He opened his mouth, trying to argue with the king's decision. However, to no avail, the king looked at him. A normal person would have shit themselves by that look, but Vesta only fell on his knees. He must be cursing me in his eyes. Or maybe he's cursing Gobta instead of me. Flashback. Upon seeing Vesta left the bar, in my appearance as Gobta, I followed him in an empty alley. He stood there, arms crossed, back on the wall. He glimpsed at me and let out a laugh. So you're the slime's friend, I assume. A monster as well, I would have guessed either way. So, what's the next step of the plan? That slime said that he didn't know since you didn't explain it to him. I think he wants to cut right in the chase, since he doesn't want anyone to see him talking to a monster. This particular alley, actually, is not that restricted and isolated from other people. Meaning, there's a chance someone can see us. And my cruel act. Friend, don't make me laugh. I don't consider a low-life slime as a friend. Ho, is that so? Looks like we think alike. I actually plan to expose him even if the plan succeeded. He let out a mischievous grin, then a loud laugh. He didn't know that he already confessed his own plan to the person himself. Too bad he's only digging his own grave. I don't plan to come there with him. With a slight chuckle, I got near him, and in an instant, he received a powerful punch straight on the face. The punch would have knocked him out cold, but I do not plan to cut his consciousness that easily. I need him to show me a certain thing he's hiding. Vesta got knocked back on the floor. I stepped on his stomach, then I stomped him with my little foot. Even though my body is smaller and not muscular like my former one, my strength itself is already abnormal. Having a body like this won't change that. He coughed up blood, then looked at me with anger. What are you? Another stomped on his stomach. So, here's the plan. Stomp. Since Kaijin punched you in the face, I positioned my foot on his face. Stomp. Then, let's make it much more worse than a typical bruise. Stomp. Stop. Stomp. Stomp. Cough. Stomp. With his remaining strength, he took out a small device on his lab pocket. A small black device with a single button on the center. Before he tried to click the button, I moved my fingers in front of me, in a motion of slide, once my finger touched a fine, invisible thread. His device got cut into pieces. It beeped for a few times, then the red light stopped blinking. My plan to plant sticky threads in this place is right. I would have guessed anyway. Bingo. So that's how he planned to call the guards to arrest me. He must have planning to arrest me and the slime, who he didn't know as me as well. So, he already thought about such a thing after meeting me in slime form. Great, my decision of making him my pawn is correct. I already anticipated his moves. His plan to expose me and my plan. However, he's too naive and didn't think far ahead. I'm 100 steps ahead of him. He cannot defeat my plan no matter how hard he try. A complete checkmate. Trying to call the guards for help. Useless. Surrender to your fate and don't struggle. Stomp. Stomp. Please kill me. The fear of feeling this pain. The fear of being hurt. The fear of being betrayed. Savor that feelings through your grave. The slime doesn't have anything to do with this. He doesn't know my personality. He didn't know that I planned this to you. Don't worry, I also plan to expose him in the end. That way, we are fair, right? Stomp. I gotta play innocent in his face. For him, the mastermind is Gobta. And not me. He thought that I'm a pawn for Gobta as well. This way, he will fear Gobta, instead of me. Though Gobta is the innocent one here, this is a proper sacrifice to get a useful pawn. Vesta has a lot of connections in the noble, so getting informations to them in exchange of Gobta is worth it. I cleaned up the mess, shrugged off the dust in my clothes, N took another glance at the messed up Vesta. I don't even think that he looks a normal dwarf anymore. But, this type of pain is not enough. Just like what Ryween do this whole time. His iron fist. His cruel way of doing things. His way of making people suffering. I took out a small bottle of potion in my clothes, throwed it at Vesta. In an instant, his bruises and all the damage he took from me got healed. Upon realizing that he got back to normal, he touched his whole body to see if he can feel the pain. But no, the potion is 99.9% effective on the body. Bruises, cuts, deep wounds, all of that will be restored to normal. Why does it sound like a promotional commercial? Closing parenthesis. He crawled back down in attempt to run away, but I took his legs and pulled him to a much more restricted alley. A dark corner on the back of the bar. A storage room outside, in simple terms. I asked the manager that I like to borrow the storage room, and that I ask some noises can be heard. They shouldn't mind that noises. Crowds are unnecessary. Now then, let's start round 2, shall we? Kiyomoru Pav. The hearing has finally ended on our side, winning no, should I call that a win? It feels more like a saving grace from the King Gazel Dwargo. The party that Kaijin throwed pretty much ended up in this situation. But, there's no point in crying over spilt milk, is there? In the end, the brothers ended up being exiled in the kingdom. Which favors the goal of us being here. Kaijin, the 3 brothers, and I will finally leave the kingdom today. They just need to pack their things and we're set to go. As Kaijin returned to the shop, there on a small sofa, a green human Gobta is lying dead while dozing off. He snapped back as the direwolf that serves as his sofa, signaled him to wake up. Oh, welcome back, Kiyomoru-sama. Did you have fun? Geez, I sure hope you take me with you next time. If his definition of having fun is torturing a dwarf and creating a ruckus, then I'll gladly bring him with me. The innocent Gobta is now dangerous in the eyes of the Vesta, the king and the kingdom. It'll be problematic if they ever hunt him down, but I already made a plan if that ever happens. But, really though, he actually summoned his partner direwolf that easily. Though it would take him at least a week or more to achieve it. He actually has the guts to do so, surprisingly. None of the other hobgoblins can do so. And yet, he only thought, hey, can you come over please? And that's it. I'm sure Rigyur will be jealous and frustrated by this. And here I thought that the dwarves are already packing their stuff for preparations. They just stood frozen in their place, sweats falling on their cheeks as the gap on their mouths grow wide. What's wrong? I got curious about this sudden change in attitude. Wait a second. The panicked Kaijin replied. What on earth is a black direwolf doing in here? Yeah, you need to run. That's a B-ranked monster. And now they were panicking. They looked so ridiculous. I was actually amused. Oh, it's fine. You can call him his partner, or some sort. There's nothing to worry about. My attempts at calming everyone's nerves met stony silence. Black direwolves, by the way, were a somewhat advanced version of regular direwolves. If they evolved in a more magic-oriented fashion, their fur would turn black. The coats of the Tempest. Direwolves were black as well, but with a uniquely colored sheen. Direwolves weren't really supposed to evolve toward the storm element in the first place. That was just a side effect of the name I gave out. In volcanic regions, direwolves would evolve with a fire element and become red direwolves. Near bodies of water, you would find blue direwolves. In the forests would be green direwolves. In other words, adopting elements was a fairly common evolutionary pattern for these guys. The magic-infused black ones, meanwhile, were apparently a notorious threat to any nearby humans and humanoids. He Tempest element gave our wolf pack an ever so slight purplish shine to their black color, something you wouldn't notice if you weren't paying attention. We didn't have the time for me to explain the whole story. I'll just call him Gobta's partner for now and move on. After hurriedly pressing the dwarves to put on their best traveler's outfits, I pushed them out of the shop, went back in by myself, and proceeded to swallow up the entire contents of the building. Capacity-wise, I was still okay, but swallowing the building whole would probably have drawn a little too much attention, so I kept it at that. Why I swallowed the content of the shop, you asked? Because necessary items are needed. They won't be of use if they go with us empty-handed. Once our preparations for the journey were complete, we made our way to where Rigyur and the other goblins were waiting. The space was silent, a far cry from the loud arguing of a moment ago. After the 5 accused had all but fled from the court, nobody in attendance dared move an inch. Vester nervously swallowed. The persistent silence of the king put both him and everyone else on edge. Then Gazel shattered the stillness. Now, Vester, do you have anything you wish to say? A thousand pardons, my liege, but this is all a misunderstanding. That slime and his other companion blackmailed me and framed up me. Vester's voice was a nervous warble as he pleaded his case. The king regarded him coldly, betraying none of his emotions. A misunderstanding? If it is, then it has cost me one of my most faithful servants. And you're telling me you were framed? After all this time? Nonsense. He has the ability to defend himself, yet he didn't say a thing and leave the talking to his representative. That's what the king thought. How can you say such a thing? My liege, you call what he offered to you, faithfulness. Why, he is simply a man off the street. Vester, I see you are mistaken. Kaijin left my corps on his own volition. When I speak of a faithful servant I have lost I refer to you. The minister's heart raced. I need to find an excuse but his mind was blank. The words refused to come to his lips. His thoughts were slow to form. What did he just say? He referred to me. Then, let me ask you once again, Vester. Do you have anything you wish to say? Fear, pure fear, dominated Vester's head. The king had asked him a question. He needed to reply, but all his speech had abandoned him. My liege, I am afraid I had great expectations for you, Vester. I have been waiting for so long. Even during the magic armor affair. I waited for you to finally speak the truth. And now I find that, yet again. The expression Gazel showed Vester could almost be described as one of kindness. The king's words pierced through the minister like the sharpest of swords. Look at these. The king pointed out 2 items one of his attendants had produced. Vester, eyes hollow, looked at them. One was a sphere filled lead with a liquid that he had never seen before, the other was a single longsword. Do you know what these are? The liquid remained a mystery to Vester, but the longsword he remembered. Kaijin had brought it in. You may explain to him. The king ordered his attendant. The following speech took a fairly long time for Vester to fully understand. The liquid was a life-regenerating elixir, a near-pay RFECT extract of the juices of the hippocute herbs. A so-called full potion, named for its miraculous recovery properties. Even with the best technology the dwarves had at their fingertips, the pures tea extract they could produce topped off at 98%. That made it only as potent as a high potion. This liquid, meanwhile, was at 99%. Vester's face twisted in shock. He had to know, what did they do to produce such a level of? But before he could ask, the attendant had even more shocking news for him. The longsword had a core of magisteel that was already working its way through the rest of the blade. Impossible. That process began only after a 10-year adaptation procedure. The shock set Vester's mind reeling. If this was true, both of these wonders were brought about by that slime, the king said. And thanks to your behavior, we have lost our connection to such a creature. And you have the guts to put the blame on him. Do you have anything you wish to say? Now Vester realized the full extent of his king's rage. There was truly nothing he could say. I do not, my liege. Tears began welling in his eyes. He knew it all too well now his lord had abandoned him. All he wanted was to serve his king. To win his approval, that was it. When did I go wrong? When I grew jealous of Kaijin, or before? He didn't know. All he knew was that he had betrayed the king's trust. I see. In that case Vester, I hereby forbid you from entering the palace. Do not let me see you before me again. I shall leave you with this. I have tired of you. Hearing his words, Vester stood up and bowed deeply to his lord. Then he left, setting off to pay his penance for his foolishness. As he did, a guard ran forward and arrested the representative serving as Vester's accomplice. The king watched them out of the corner of his eye. My dark agent, he shouted with some urgency. Have you gathered informations about the slime? The agent is the one following Kiyomaru on his talk to Vesta. I apologize, my liege. I'm afraid I didn't gather much intel about the slime, sir. This clearly shocked the people around. The ability the agent shows regarding spying and espionage is top-notch. Yet, he cannot keep his eyes on a mere slime. Track the movements of that slime. Do not let it escape your notice. Ever again. The emphatic order of the normally taciturn king gave pause to everyone in the chamber. By my life, my liege, the dark agent said before disappearing. The king thought to himself. Who was that slime? A type of monster, no doubt. Was that the level of monster being released, then? He even has the abilities to bypass his agent. The slime must be much better than what he has shown. His hero's instincts were giving him a feeling he couldn't ignore. Trusting it, he began to take action. Rigur and the other hobgoblins are safe in the edge of the forest where they decided to camp. It pretty much took us 5 whole days to complete our goal here in the kingdom. But, other than that, I intended to visit the Free Guild of the kingdom if not Kaido introduced me to his brother in the topic regarding Vesta and Kaijin. But, not that I really mind. My next move, for now, has something to do with the Bloomend Kingdom near the Dworgen where we currently are. I have heard of the situation and the current prosperity of the said kingdom from the townsfolk. What I intended to do, however, has something to do with the Free Guild there. The Free Guild, despite not having any support from the kingdom, has the ability to gather much more information than them. Their broad network may prove to be useful for us sooner or later, somehow. The rankings of the monsters, the skills of adventurers who may pose potential threats in the future. I must collect this much info. Armation before coming back in the village. You guys go on ahead. Rigure, you can handle them right. If something ever happens to you and the team, it is your responsibility. Be prepared for the consequences, understood? I need to hammer down on his head the threat of the monsters around the forest. If he got careless, even though he won't, and put the safety of the others and the dwarves at risk, he need to fix the situation himself. As I am not with them by that time. I understand, despite the huge responsibility on him, Rigure said so with a hint of courage. But, Kiyomaru-sama, why wouldn't you go back home with us? He followed back. I've got some important business to handle. You can say it has something to do about the future of the village. Any other questions? No, sir, we understand. With that, Rigure signaled the team to go and leave the kingdom on their journey to go back in the team. Each of them has their own direwolf partners, which is enough for the dwarves to hop into. But, since they still cannot handle their things, they let me have it for now. I walked down deeper and deeper into the forest. The monster dared to get in my way got intimidated simply by my coercion. They'll be problematic if they come in group, but I see no reason to not get frustrated by their sudden attack. Now then, as I proved that no one is around me, black smoke emitted on a certain height above me. My body slowly turned yet again into Gobda, which is a complete humiliation for me. There's actually no reason for me to turn into him again, but I want to try something. Great Sage, can I modify my appearance to my previous one? When I said, previous one, I'm talking about my previous human body. I'm more comfortable in that body, to tell you the truth. Rather than in a small, green-skinned, petite goblin. A suspicious silence answered me rather than an instant response. Is something wrong? I thought. Report. Modifying the current, mimic, hobgoblin, into retaining T. He previous appearance of Kiyomaru Tempest is currently impossible. Closing square bracket. The chances of succession is currently 2.19%. If current magicule is added, the chances are 7.20%. Closing square bracket. So, it's practically impossible for me to change my appearance at this level of magicule. And yet, I actually managed to get a lot of it from Veldora. It doesn't seem to be enough for the transformation. Do you wish to continue modifying the current mimic, hobgoblin into mimic, Ayanokoji Kiyotaka? Closing square bracket. No, the chances are low. Even though there's nothing to lose, I don't want my hope to get crushed by a mere failure. Why, though? Is it because I haven't touched it by my unique skill? Or perhaps my imagination about it is not clear? I'm not sure about the criteria, but I don't really mind being in my slime form, rather than in Gobda's body. Satsuka. Yes. She immediately responded and left my shadow, wagging her tail by the time she sat at the grassy floor. Her tongue showing as if a delighted dog. I returned to my slime body as I hopped into her back. Let's go. With that, my journey to the Bloomend Kingdom has started by the time the sun fell down. Kiyomaru Pav. The natural terrain and smooth roads made our travel to Bloomend Kingdom short. Naturally, monsters here and there sometimes ambushes us, but that's not something Satsuka and I cannot handle. Bloomend Kingdom is just a small country that all the nobles are feudal lords of villages. It is merely a country that comprises its royal capital. The capital is the only large city, and in the castle town lies the Bloomend's Freedom Association branch. Bloomend Kingdom is a kingdom of information, where intel is up for sale. It's because it's such a small country, it would be immediately destroyed if it didn't regulate such information. That's what I am here for. Gaining informations about a lot of things from common sense to trivial things. A single piece of intel are worth to thousands of golds. Also, the Adventurers Free Guild, to be specific. They hold much more informations than the kingdom itself that they don't disclose. They prioritizes mostly on monsters, which is also useful in the future. so visiting them once will not be a problem. But, I cannot really show up in my slime form, can I? It will be a problem if a supposed to be low-level unintelligent monster showed up in the kingdom's entrance. It won't really make a ruckus or anything of that sort. But the one who will be troubled is me. And of course, transforming into Gobta is out of question either. Not only I will be disgusted by myself, it will also alert the Adventures to see an evolved kind of goblin. I already put a heavy burden on his shoulder without his notice, which is pretty cruel of me. However, it's a necessary move to gain a usable pawn, which is the existence known as Vesta. In a world where magic, different kinds of skills and strange type of people exists, a person like me, who isn't originally born in this world, cannot be called a superior existence from the others. Comparing our raw strengths are out of the question, especially those who have the potential to surpass me, if they do exist in this world. However, what puts me in Adventures is my honed skills and years of training inside that facility. Sure, those martial arts and such doesn't compare on magics and sword skills of the adventurers. But I, myself, also gained those skills that every creatures in this world have. Even having a unique skill and overpowered effects will put the elderly to shame. Either way, my point is that I cannot gain something or anything that I want if I hold myself back. If I want myself to get killed, then sure, that's an option. But I do not intend to get killed without knowing the reason why I got here, which isn't even necessary nor important. I'm just curious about the reasons. Nothing more, nothing less. Half an hour have passed. Upon sensing that there's no traces of human movements about to leave the kingdom to the forest, I pet out of Satsuka's back and jumped through a tree branch to calmly analyze the layout of the kingdom. From here, no humans can be seen leaving nor entering the kingdom from the gate. Guards are lined up on the entrance with huge armors, silver shields and spears with them. People who looks like mages wearing coats and staffs are on the rear, slacking off and reading books while standing. The T-owns people at this time are gathered in the plaza, some are walking on alleys but only a few of them do. In short, this place is emitting an aura of peace and tranquility. Clank, 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 such sound came from a horse-drawn vehicle inside the forest. Its sight slowly appeared by the tree branches and the flat surface of the road. Great timing, I muttered under my breath. There's no guards nor red adventures can be seen protecting the wagon. Only the coachee and the passenger, or maybe the said owner, are the only people there are. Since I cannot see what's inside the said carriage, I cannot confirm if there really is a person or items inside. I can also sense magicules from a handful of meters away from me, and there's no traces of human movements either. May it be suspicious or not, if a human have the ability to bypass my senses, then that will be a big problem. As the carriage passed by the tree where I am currently standing, I jumped straight through the coachman's head. His fluffy hair is kinda comfortable that I almost felt sleeping, but I put that thought aside and pat his head. Looks like he didn't sensed nor felt me, since he didn't made any weird movements and noise, nor he did cast his eyes above him. Report, occurring skill, mimic, merchant, gamble, and luck, complete. Closing square bracket. The set of names are really suited for him, as he actually is a merchant rather than a mere driver. Which means that what's inside the carriage are items he will trade. This skill will give me an advantage in the future. I'm pretty much sure that this will be important to me. But wait, what's its effects anyway? I gotta find that out when I returned back to the village. With that, I stealthily left his comfortable, fluffy head to the forest, changed my appearance and started my espionage to Bloomend Kingdom. It was a lively town. The chatters of the townspeople can be heard on every side of the place. Kids running around, catching up on one another. Adults chatting amongst themselves. The peaceful atmosphere can be seen on plain sight. The moment I stepped foot at this place, I already felt the tranquility and composure of the kingdom itself. It may take me around a month to complete my gathering of informations here at Bloomend Kingdom. Or if I'm lucky enough, then maybe it can shorten to 2 weeks at max. I yet to have any connections with this place. No acquaintances nor someone I know. My only lead here is the Free Guild, which I need to be wary of. There may be some of them who can see through my disguise, if I may assume. After all, every adventurers have different set of skill. The common ones are pretty much obvious. But some of them may have tiers surpassing those of the normal ones. Being cautious won't hurt me, but being overly cautious will only backfire. For now, I should clear my mind and feel the peace of this place. For starters, I need to find a place to stay for the night. The gold coins I got from Kaido is still with me. Since he insisted to give it to me, I didn't have a choice but to gratefully accept it. Finding a shelter will be the start of the race. After all, this is a race where my opponent is time. The maximum time I can give myself is a month. Any more than that, and I will surely make accomplices here, which will soon be suspicious of me if I suddenly vanish out of nowhere. That itself isn't the problem, but why know that I'm connected to a village full of evolved goblins? We're still out of everyone's radar, which is good for us, since they may send people to eradicate the place. If that happens, I'm not sure if everyone can survive such massacre. After all, we're talking about humans who despises monsters here. They won't show mercy on such beings. I like to avoid that if possible. This may not be the last time I will use this appearance for espionage, too. I may also spy on other kingdoms near the forest if a war ever starts. Of course, I can just use something other than this, but I want to preserve my cards as much as possible. As soon as I turned left from the alley that I'm walking to, I heard noises that seems different from the norm. A wooden establishment with 3 floors, a stall on the right full of fruits and vegetables. An inn, perfect, I'm just looking for a place to stay. Let's see, its name is Valkyrie Fantasia Inn. What a weird name. Well, it won't hurt to check the place out right. Even if the payment are high, a little bit of negotiation can solve the problem. I walked up and opened the wooden door of the inn. It made a creaking sound that gathered some of the customers' attention to me. ANF, of course. The person in the counter included. It was a restaurant, or so it was supposed to be. But this is just a bar. It's still the middle of the day, and yet a lot of people are already gathered here to drink. Some of them are already dozing off on their tables, while some are puking. But this building has 3 floors. So maybe the remaining floors are the rooms. This isn't a motel, is it? I cast that idea the instant it appeared in my mind. Welcome to Valkyrie Fantasia. How? The interior of the building shows a very nostalgic vibe. It's as if this place is already here for decades. Instead of using lamps or bulbs fueled by Magic, they are instead using torches hanging by the wall. Such things are dangerous, of course, but despite the flame already touching the wooden wall, no traces of burns, let alone marks, can be seen by the naked eye. Is it some kind of skill? If that's the case, then I'll gladly learn it from someone. After all, it will be useful to the village. So, will you order a drink, stay the night, or kindly leave? A tick mark appeared on the girl's forehead, who noticed that I'm not listening to her explanation. Well, I looked like I'm not. But I actually heard all of it. I want to stay the night. You said it's 20 silver coin per night, right? She looked surprised by my words. Well, she thought that I'm not listening, so I think that's to be expected. Understood. Please wait for a moment. The girl stood up from her seat and made her way upstairs in a lightning speed. I only watched in surprise as she pulled a drunk man by his ear. She didn't seem to mind that the said person is being hurt, both from the ears and the stairs. She threw the man outside with a paper stapled on his back, which seems to be his check. I deeply apologize by that. Now then, room 10 is all yours. I pulled out a single gold coin from my pocket and placed it on the table. I didn't bother to take the change since I'll be staying here for a month. Taking my leave by the time I got the keys, which smells like alcohol, I got upstairs to find the room that I'll be staying. A total of 15 rooms are available per floor, which means that there's 30 rooms on in all. On the other end of THR corridor in front of the stairs to the 3rd floor, the number 10 are drilled on the door of the room. Using the key I took from the girl, I quickly opened the room and entered the very small room with 2 messy beds beside the wall. The sheets are all messy, as if the person who stayed here before me did something strange. At the same time, the table, cabinet, and the walls smells like expired alcohol. Well, I saw a few bottles of liquor underneath the bed, which means that the person who the girl kicked out earlier is the person who occupied this. Judging from the smell, looks like he's already been staying here for more than a week. I see, so this is how you want to play with me, Fate-chan. Looks like Fate doesn't want me to just rest that easily after being part of a dirty accident. Can't she cut me some slack? Even though I'm not tired, I still need to rest like a normal human being, slime being. I have a lot of things I'm about to do, you know. First of all, I need to clean every part of this small room. I need to ask for a replacement for the sheets, the pillows and the cover. After all of that are done, I need to start investigating the Free Guild. Gather informations about Blumen's military power. If either they will be a threat for the village or not is important as well. Next, make connections to people with a lot of influence through negotiations or blackmailing. But, if possible, I'd like to avoid the latter since it'll be problematic to make enemy of the adventurers. Vesta is a different case since it's a necessary move to gain a disposable pawn. I also have Kaijin help me without him knowing anything. However, this time, I'm all on my own. Without the help of someone, making more enemies will prove to be problematic in the future. Don't worry, Master. I'll be on your side through thick and thin, Satsuka said as she rested on my shadows. I appreciate it. I'll be relying on you if that time comes, okay? As if a dog being patted on her head, Satsuka let out a pleasured howl. Well, if someone is here with me, then that will only make things easier. With Satsuka's raw strength and honed abilities, and my quick thinking and trained skill, I'll be sure to return back to the village with a lot of useful informations. The end.